Give me 15 seconds. Make sure your mic's on. You should be on. Is your mic on?
You ready? Ready. All right, good morning, everyone. Glad to have you all here, mask and all. I'm not gonna wear one. I know you won't be able to hear me with this muffle. But anyway, call this Board of Supervisors meeting to order this time and ask Mr. Slay if he would mind giving an invitation.
Yes. Let's pray. Lord God, thank you again for what a privilege it is to be able to come and to serve, to come to gather together, Father, for the purpose of conducting the county's business. And Lord, these men have given their time, their effort, their energy, they've sacrificed to be in position, Lord, to lead. I pray, Father, that you'll give them everything they need this morning so that they might lead well. Father, thank you that you take good care of us, that you provide for us in our community, that we can count on you, Lord, to bless us and to provide for us in many and abundant ways. Our law enforcement, the guys, the ladies, Lord, that take good care of us, what a privilege it is for them to be able to serve us, for us to see them in service, Lord, to thank you for that service and to know that we have a safe community to live in. Father, I pray that you would continue to keep them safe and protect them as they help us each and every week. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. All right, public comment. We have Risk Management Partners, Guy Warren and Paul Mack. Come on up. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to go over the first part of it is the public officials and law legal. And I'm going to hand y'all, this is y'all's cheat sheets. Now your full deal, Miss Laura's got that. Y'all want to look through that whenever. But this is kind of just hitting the, like y'all like us to do.
Hit the high points.
Hitting the high point. Next part we'll go over after this is the work comp.
Like Guy said, what you got in front of you is a summary of the proposal. And we went out to market again on the police professional and the public officials liability. And we're still with the National Sheriff's Association endorsed product. And it actually is the best product that is out there. One thing to note, our estimated budget's up by about $10 million, but our overall rate really didn't move that much at all. In fact, the public officials liability is a little bit cheaper than it was last year, and overall we're just about $10,000 more than we were last year. Going out to the market, looking at some other public entity programs that have law legal liability in them that they can provide, they all came back and said they would be way up compared to this number. In fact, one of our carriers that is currently providing your general liability property insurance said that they were seeing anywhere from 50 to 70% increases on the law legal liability simply because of what's going on right now with social inflation, with civil unrest and what have you. They're seeing a lot more claims, so they're getting a lot more rate than they have in the past. But given that, the net premium for both lines of insurance this year is $208,960. Last year was $197,412. In comparison, you can see the prior years were actually still well below a couple of years ago. So if any good news is, hey, we're paying less than we have, and that's good news. I got a quote for you guys to consider. I don't really think it's worthy to really look at, but I wanted you to see it. Is same limits of liability with the $75,000 retention versus the $50,000 retention we carry right now. But it's only about $13,000 cheaper for $25,000 additional exposure on each claim. Most of the claims fall well under the retention. So all it means is you'd be saving $13,000 to pay more in claims from that standpoint. So I wanted to show that to you, but from a personal standpoint, I just don't think it's worth the additional exposure for that. Anybody got any questions? Okay.
The next part is gonna be the workers' compensation. And again, we went out to the market and showed you the places we went on this.
And I've got a page, the second page on here is kind of like the highlights page of the quote for this year. Our payroll estimates are up almost $1 million from last year. Our experience mod, which is the kind of the claims report card that they do every year, it actually went down 11 basis points, which is good, which means our premium went down from last year by $35,000. So that's great news. And just kind of as far as looking back in history, the manual premium is $892,000 versus $568,000 in modified premium, meaning that's where it starts at, and all the discounts that you get from the MPE, it ends up being $568,598, which is right at 36% off the manual premium, which is good. Some of the things that we ran into in the standard market is some markets don't want to insure the police department, some don't want to insure street and road, some of them don't want to insure either. So that's kind of things that we run into. So we're still with the Mississippi Public Entity Trust, which is a self-insured pool for public entities. And we looked at and requested their financial statement because we don't really have a rating agency that's reviewing them. And their financial statements are good. Their position improved from last year, so everything looks good from that standpoint. The average cost for your workers' comp is 2.8% of a payroll dollar versus last year was 3.91%.
No, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, in 2004 it's 3.91%. And the
419, that's close. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just kind of giving y'all kind of a historical point of reference. And this year, the estimated payroll is $20,284,000, and in 2004, it was $12 million. So there's been growth in payroll, there's been growth in exposure, but the premium has stayed very constant. The premium this year is $568. Versus in 2004, it was $470. So it's really stayed pretty level as far as that goes. And I included in here on this page, you have a breakdown of how the quote actually calculated. On the left-hand side, it's got the Mississippi Public Entity quote. And then on the right-hand side is if we had to go to the assigned risk pool for Mississippi, which would be the only alternative. And you can see you're still paying well below that. And then this page has got your claims history on it by year. So you can kind of see what your claims are doing. The current year, you've done very well in the current year. We had some issues in some of the prior years. And so even with that, the Mississippi Public Entity has stayed strong with their quote and with their program.
Yeah.
But all in all, everything's less than it was last year, so anytime you can do that, that's good.
We did something right.
That's
Yeah.
something right.
That's
And
right.
payrolls and everything's up, but your premium's down, so.
That's good.
Hey, good deal. Thank
Anybody
y'all.
have any
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks.
Okay, next, we have Vicki Watkins. More paperwork.
Morning. Hey, bud.
How you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you.
That time of year again, want to just go over a few things on your reinsurance coverage on your health plan. The good news is that for the second year in a row, your claims are down on a per member per month basis. They're down almost a little over 9% through October. Ironically enough, one of the reasons they're probably down is due to COVID-19, because as you know, earlier this year, a lot of physicians' offices, surgery centers, things of that nature closed down for anything but essential health services. So, and
You could
we're
just
gonna,
lie to us though, as we're just going, being extra healthy.
or I could lie to y'all and tell y'all you're extra healthy and things are looking really rosy. Actually, there is some good news along that line, Jay, and I'll get to that in just a second. But so the reason that I do bring that up, though, is because there is a belief that at some point in time there will be kind of a catch-up, if you will. In other words, we know these doctors are not going to let their incomes go down by hundreds of thousands of dollars, so we do anticipate that we'll see additional claim payments into the latter part of this year and possibly trickle over into 2021. The other side of that, though, is remember that your reinsurance, which you guys have the exposure to the first $100,000 of every single claimant, we're still seeing the same number of shock claims. It's down just a little bit, down marginally. Claims on the group as a whole are running good, but we're still having the large claims, and those people, because it is essential, they're still receiving their health services. So I sent your reinsurance coverage out to 11 different carriers. 7 of them declined to quote because they said they could not be competitive. Of the 4 that I did receive, truthfully, only 3 of those 4 were competitive. And here in the middle of the page, you can see basically a brief synopsis. The administrative fee, Blue Cross bumped their administrative fee by $1 per employee per month. The reinsurance cost, and this is the average, this is based on your average enrollment over the last 12 months, is going up about a little over $15,000. It's a 3.1% increase. Just to understand this, and just make sure you understand, when reinsurance carriers, the first thing that they look at is the demographic of your group, okay, the average age, et cetera, et cetera. Then they start factoring in the claims. The premium, this premium here actually represents, so when they come up with that premium based on the average age, we'll just call that $100 for discussion's sake, okay? Y'all's premium is $40. Y'all are 60% below the manual rate, even with this slight increase here. So keep in mind that generally speaking, y'all have had good claims experience. We do have some problems with the other entity this year that is part of y'all's plan. We've got a couple, well, one really bad situation going on over there that we're trying to work through. So anyway, just be aware that Region 8 has 2 lasers this year and y'all have 1. If you'll turn to the back page now, I just want to go over, though this shows what your claims experience has been year by year. And again, you can see that your claims are running about $310 per covered member per month. But remember, a member is not only your employee, but it's any dependents, so spouses and children that are covered under the plan. So you can see that is down pretty substantially from, a couple of years ago. And really your claims have been very consistent from 2014 on with, a couple of exceptions there. But back to my COVID comment, if you'll look at the bullets down there, and to Jay's point earlier, for the first time, the average age of your employee actually dropped below 40, is at 44.3. So that's really good. In previous years, it's always been over 45. I don't know if that's due to retirements and bringing younger people in. You can see that your inpatient hospital is down 28%. So anytime you have fewer inpatient hospital stays, that's where the big bucks are spent, and they're down 28% this year. You can also see the same information on physicians. That's typically one of the big cost drivers. Those visits are actually down about 19–20% this year, and prescription drug utilization is also down. I will tell you that between the two plans, y'all and Region 8, y'all have some very, very, very expensive drugs that are being utilized by your members. Some of them are specialty drugs for like cancer, for example, but the others are like, one's Humira, which is used for Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis. It is a very, very expensive drug. In addition to that, on your plan, you have a lot of exposure to diabetic drugs. 7 of the top 15 prescriptions that are being filled by your employees are for diabetic drugs. And those drugs over the last 3 years, even though, and I say even though, they're running around $600 to maybe $800 a month for those drugs, and that's up probably about 30% over the last 2 or 3 years. So down below that, though, shows the Blue Cross discounts, and that is, you know, I mean, I'm always looking for ideas. I'm always looking for other markets. The only other player that would potentially be of benefit to you guys in terms of discounts is United Healthcare. I mean, when I talk to these reinsurance carriers, keep in mind the reinsurance carriers, they're not really concerned about the guys that are having $5,000 worth of claims every year. They're only worried about the people that are having claims in excess of $100,000, because that's when their money kicks in. So when I have this conversation with them about alternative solutions, alternative third-party administrators, the conversation always with them always says, send us your Blue Cross business, send us your United Healthcare business. Other than that, we're not really interested in looking at anything. So that tells me that those two carriers have something in terms of discounts, and especially so when you get into the large claims. So that's it. Any questions regarding any of this?
Good. Well, you spelled it out pretty good. As long as we don't have to go up, we're great.
Okay.
It's good.
Jay, we didn't talk beforehand. I want y'all to know that. That is a good point. I do want to point out one thing. Of your 4 largest claims this year, all four of them, and I think it's 4 of the top, and 5 of the top 8 are all on dependents. So, you know, Laura and I have always, every year, had the conversation about how reasonable your dependent premiums are. So I think that's some really easy money that the Board of Supervisors could pick up. And I'm not talking about taking huge increases, but I think if you compare what y'all pay for dependent coverage relative to what, you know, the rest of the market out there is, then, you know, I do think you need to keep that in mind, because your 4 top claimants this year are all dependents. One of them, and I apologize, I failed to mention this, and this is very important. One of them has a laser on him for $200,000. Last year he was a laser. The year before that he was a laser. So he is taking a very expensive injection. And so what that means, though, you have an additional $100,000. It's $200,000. If you're familiar with a laser, they can either increase your premiums, or they can say, okay, we know this person, we're going to have a big claim on him, so we can either raise your premium by $100,000, or we can get you to just pay it, and that may or may not come true. The bigger issue is, and Laura and I had this conversation in our meeting, even though this the carrier we're looking at did turn out to be the lowest from a cost standpoint, Region 8 has a very big laser this year, very significant laser. And this provider happened to provide, in terms of a laser, the most reasonable cost, cost outcome for them. So, anyway, just be aware of that.
Now, on Region 8, they cover that aspect, right? Okay.
They cover what?
The part, the laser.
Yes, correct. Yes, they're picking up, but, I've been trying to negotiate the best laser I could for them because it is very
Right.
significant. Very significant.
Okay. All right, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Hey, I'll get you next one.
Okay, except I didn't get them.
Yes.
Next, we have, Philip Husky and Susan Brasher. They'll be coming in here in a minute. PRV. This should be some interesting information. Good morning, come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all doing today?
Philip,
I think they threw you under the bus.
I'm pretty sure they did.
I guess they
Yeah.
walked you in, they sat down
They
and sent
tell
you
us
up.
that.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
You just got volunteered.
Yeah.
Do you even know why you're here, Philip? They just tell you to come up here. They tell
They told me that has something to do with alcoholic beverages,
There you
but I
go.
think, given,
You were all in.
You came running,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
telling you.
I'm an Ole Miss graduate after all. Yeah, we got to do the beverages. But no, I think I'm pretty well versed in what, I think y'all's questions for me were about where PRV stands right now with the new initiative that allowed package retailers to open inside our qualified resort area inside the district. Well, let me first identify myself for people who don't know. I'm Philip Husky. I'm with the Mississippi Attorney General's office, and I'm the in-house counsel for the Pearl River Valley Water Supply District. The way once the legislation went into effect for package retailers inside our qualified resort area, the board adopted a resolution that basically restricts package retailers to the commercial or high-density commercial land use areas of the reservoir, and also put an additional requirement that any package retailer has to have 2,000 square foot retail space, heated and cooled retail space, exclusive of a storage area. That's the only real two restrictions they put on it. We have not put a density or number requirement or restriction on the number of stores. They may, however, given the obvious interest in package retailers for that area, given the population and everything. But right now, we've got two for sure that have been approved by our board. One at the old Feathered Cow location, and then one at the old Bank Plus building, which used to be the district's permitting office. We moved the permit office to another location, and that area has been, that building was put up for bid and purchased by Polk's Drugs, and they plan to renovate that building, because right now it does not meet the square footage requirements. But they're going to renovate that building to meet the square footage requirements and open a package store there. Those are the two we know for a fact that have been approved by the board. Yes, sir.
When you're speaking, that's just across the street from one that has interest in the county, isn't it? Is that correct, Daniel?
I think so. It's all right there in the same
Okay.
block area.
All right.
I think it's behind.
Yeah.
The one that you're speaking of is behind
Okay, right,
the permit
right.
office. But that's where we are. And so
Those two have been approved.
those two have been approved. There is one on the agenda for Thursday. That is farther down Spillway in the Reservoir Square, the old jitney. That's up for a vote on Thursday.
Philip, in addition to what PRV has done by way of resolution, and that is to have the zoning requirement and the square footage requirement, the law itself also has restrictions in it. Am I correct? Is that correct?
As
There's
far-
400 feet away from particular
Yeah,
uses?
that's not in this legislation, that's in ABC's.
That's how ABC regulates it.
Regulates, in their
All right.
regulations, and we adopted that. They have to meet, generally how it works with ABC on their regulation, and, well, it's also in, there's a state statute, but it's also, it wasn't in the legislation, it's already existing, that talks about, can't be 400 feet from a school, church, funeral home. And then ABC's regulations incorporate that 400-foot requirement, plus if it's already in an area that is zoned or land use to commercial, it drops to 100 feet.
Right.
Okay, so that's, we've incorporated those as well.
Right. I wanted the board to understand that they are following additional regulations. It's just not something that PRV had to establish. It's already established. It's already in the law.
Yeah.
So I haven't studied up on it, but my thought process is that the board can regulate to a degree more restrictive than the state law. The state law sets the floor, so we can't regulate below that. We couldn't say, well, if it's already zone commercial, you can be 50 feet from a funeral home. It doesn't work that way. We could say, though, even though it's already zone commercial, and under state law you would be required to be 100 feet away, we could say, we're going to require you to be at least 200 feet away. We can regulate harder than that. Okay, does that make sense? So we need to think through that. That's another reason why I asked you guys to table the consideration previously until a date when we can actually address some of these considerations. And I think I'm going to ask you to add a discussion point under my section later today to talk about those things and get some idea about where we may be headed. So I mentioned that so that if the PRV folks want to hang around and see how that goes, that they'd be welcome to do that.
So we have three, we have one coming up this week, and you said currently there's no modifications as far as restricting the number of stores?
Not right now, but I do anticipate my board to instruct me to start that process.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to be three, and if we do one, or two, I would think we would need to limit it.
Yeah, because the weird part about where it all lays geographically on the map is some of the area right there around that resort status is PRV property, some of it's not, some of it's county. So you have some of the resort status that falls under their regulation, and some of the resort status falls on our regulations. So we want to mesh those together, and I appreciate you guys coming, and Susan and all you guys to come in and kind of let us know where you are. Share the ordinance with Slay. I passed it on to him. He's got the ordinance now to look at. So we can kind of be in together, because I want us to be on the same page as far as how we, I don't want to use the word regulate, but how we authorize the sale of the stuff here in the county. So it's, yeah, it's a balancing game. I know we've had a discussion on not having 10 stores on top of each other.
We've had that same discussion as well.
Obviously, there's been such a tremendous need for it in the county, of people asking for it, that once it became available in these spots, the demand was going to be very, very high, which is what you're seeing. I've had several calls of people. I know Jay's had some calls of people wanting to start stores the same side. So that discussion is important, that we're on the same page with everybody. So I just, the only thing I would like to ask while I got you here, and I know you do this well, is just reach out to Slay at some point once y'all get to moving, and be sure Slay's up to speed on whatever changes y'all make, so he can keep us in breast of what's happening.
Oh, well, that's not a problem. Me and Mr. Slay speak quite regularly.
I know you do. I know y'all have a good y'all have a good relationship, and that's important for us. So.
Now when we're talking about drainage, we can also talk about where we might be able to salve our wounded spirits at some point, because we have to deal with so much drainage.
Correct.
I was going to ask you guys about, or mention this, that, and I think it's important that the public understands the way that the law has been set up now, by making this package retail available only in designated resort status areas. It's limiting, it's exceedingly limiting. There will not be package retailers all over the county, because it is defined as being relegated to qualified resort status areas. And at the moment, we can identify precisely where those are. Now, individual municipalities have qualified resort status areas within them, but we don't regulate that. I'm speaking of unincorporated county outside the PRV. There's really only one area that is available for this land use. There's really only one area, and it's right there at that spillway corner. There may be other qualified resort areas that eventually move in that direction, but at the moment they're burdened with some additional land use considerations around them that makes that problematic, just by virtue of where they're located. It's residential's too close to them, okay? So I wanted to mention that so that it doesn't become a talking point out in the community that it's just going to run amok. It's
It's
not
going to.
capable of that happening at the moment. It could,
And
obviously.
here's another thing, important of that resort area status. We do have a nursing home that's being constructed
That's right.
on resort, and I don't think it's on resort property. But
It is.
Is it on resort property?
Yes, sir.
I knew it's close or it touches it. So you're gonna have some of these areas that are available to have it that may be inside that 400-foot buffer range type deal. So from the county's perspective side of it. So just, we have one of those exclusions with that new nursing
Yes.
home right there off, can't remember the name of the street.
Yes.
It runs off, it's behind the old Fred's. What is it? Lake Vista Place. Thank you, Ms. Renee.
Right.
Yeah, it's opening up immediately, yeah. So, all right.
All right,
Thank y'all.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate you. Susan, you want to add anything to
Okay,
that?
yeah.
You good?
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
No,
No?
I was hoping to get you to the podium.
no, I'm good. Thank y'all.
Is she a board member?
Huh?
Is she a board member of the PRB?
Susan's the executive director.
Yeah.
She's the number 2 person in the PRB. She's a-
Okay, all right. If y'all have said everything you need to say, then we'll move on. Next on public comment, we have Mr. Greg Bonds with Benchmark. Morning.
Morning. How y'all doing?
Fine. Doing fine.
I'm here to talk about little drainage problem over in Long Meadow subdivision on Amanda Drive. It's right there off Henderson Road. Some things that we've been looking at. I've got a little drawing I'm gonna pass out that'll help explain it.
This is part of the work we was gonna do for Pearl. The mayor wanted to get this, going, and it takes so long to get stuff in.
How you doing, bud? Good? You good? You good? Mississippi State didn't play this weekend, so I feel pretty good. I hope if I got a vote on canceling that season, I vote yes. Canceling me, just before the Egg Bowl. You can pick it back up after that, but you can cancel it before.
I prefer not to watch any more of that, for sure. Amanda Drive, it's a subdivision, it's Long Meadow is the name of the subdivision. It's some large lots, large acreage, acre and a half lots. It's off of Henderson Road. And there is a culvert that is undersized on Amanda Drive, and the second house, as you come in, the second house on the left, it's shown as Christopher and Victoria Walker. Well, their house is flooded typically pretty much every year 2 to 3 times with varying levels of water, but it's pretty often we get a heavy downpour. Their house ends up being inundated with water. So obviously that's a problem. So we, like Jay said, we are looking at some things for Pearl on another project, and this is part of it. And we're proposing a solution. We're going to remove the existing culverts that there and replace it. And we've run some hydraulic models to make sure that we're not causing any issues downstream, upstream, or anything with what we're proposing to do. But we are helping the issue and lowering the high water mark at this house and at this crossing.
How old are these houses? I mean, how long has this been in?
I don't know how long it's been there since, what, 2000 or
Yeah,
2004
I
or
guess,
something like that. It's been there for a long time. And this house, as far as I know, my understanding, it's had flooding
Is
problems
this the only one in that
for a long
little
time.
area? The only house?
Yeah,
Yes,
the only other ones that, or we were, Pearl had asked us to help with, was the others are on Highway 80. And in comparison, this one part's gonna be a lot less expensive than the others. You know, cause remember, he wanted 800,000, so I don't think this is, but how much is this culvert?
The culvert itself's probably around 70. We're gonna have to remove some asphalt and
box
replace it.
culvert?
Yes, sir.
Be a box cover.
We're proposing an aluminum box.
So you're not forming one there. You're not
No,
doing a
sir.
form.
No, sir, because, I mean, this is their only way in and out. So an aluminum box culvert, you basically put it together on the side of the road or the side of the project. And that, you can open cut it, remove everything, drop the box in there, get some rock back over it. It's just a lot quicker solution in a case like this where, I mean, this is the only way in and out of.
Was this undersized from the beginning then?
Yeah, well,
I would say-
actually, I wouldn't say it was to begin with. There's been a lot of development upstream. You know, there's 300 acres that flows into this one part right here. So currently it's a 60-inch culvert that the county's actually replaced a couple of times now. But this all started as a county project and Pearl annexed. So, you know, originally it was designed, you know, all that
This
development
was
wasn't there.
county, was county at one time, now
It
Pearl's
was.
got it.
Right. Asbury Village, all of that was not there, and every bit of that flows down into this one bottom.
Who designed it all? Where does this come, where does?
David Luckett did the subdivision.
This,
Yeah.
This not gonna affect anything downstream?
No, sir. And that was, like I said, we did hydraulic modeling to confirm, basically make sure we're not causing any adverse impacts downstream by what we're proposing. And we've looked through lots of different combinations and pipe sizes and things like that just to try to come up with the best fit. And this is what we've settled on.
how about the pipe you said about 70,000, but what would be the total cost to the county?
My estimate's around, I mean, it depends. There's different ways you do it. If it's an advertised bid, it's gonna be, that culvert will cost more than that. But if it's something that could be handled in-house, I mean, probably around, my guess would be around 100,000.
Okay.
I don't know if Mike was planning on doing this or not. I hadn't really talked to him about it. We've done some of these. We started doing these a couple of years ago.
Have you heard anything about it, Mike?
Aluminized box culverts.
Is Pearl, I mean, Pearl putting in anything, or is the county paying for it?
No, we're paying for it. That was part of the project when he came and asked us for the 800,000.
I didn't remember that. I thought it was, I thought, you saw it when it went down
That was on
Highway 80.
Highway
Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
I thought it was just 80. I didn't know about this.
Oh, yeah, this was part of it.
Are we looking at this and the
And
No,
Highway
just
80?
this part, that's the only one they need to get ordered now. So, but, I mean, there was some other issues going on with the Highway 80 project. I don't know if y'all are prepared to talk about that yet or not. I know you didn't bring it with you.
I don't have it with me. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've looked at lots of different things on that one. We started off initially wanting to do a bridge. Basically, we're gonna remove the culverts that are there and put some bridges, some precast bridges across there. Well, there's a power line basically right where our caps would be in the end of the bridge, and it's just, got with the power company to discuss what kind of options we'd have there. Didn't like the sound of any of those particularly. So we've gone back and looked at, again, we've modeled lots of different scenarios, lots of different culverts, lots of different things. We have some elevation challenges because we're right there close to Highway 80. So we've settled on some box culverts that we'll probably pour in place.
What is the cost? That should have brought the cost way down.
I'm not sure if it's gonna bring it way down or not.
Versus
A
a bridge.
a poured in place or precast box culvert, I mean, they're not cheap either. I mean, we're looking at right now, basically double 4.5 by 14s is kind of what we're thinking. And that's what we're laying out. We gotta meet, it's in MDOT right away, so we've gotta meet their LRFD standards and everything else that goes along with that. So each one of those crossings are gonna be pretty expensive.
This is the highest priority on the mayor's,
Well,
list.
this one is, I mean, it's part of that project, but it is kind of separate. This is one that can be handled immediately.
Quick.
While the other one, we got to go through MDOT, we got to get MDOT approvals, MDOT permits, and there are a lot more things that have to be done to get that ready to bid. This is something that the county has installed before, something that it could be done
Right.
pretty
I don't
quickly.
know that we're gonna install it. That's what I'm trying to
A
find
couple
out.
of years ago,
Huh?
we worked, it's been 2 or 3 years ago. I'm not sure if it's the same one or not, but it seems like we did some work. Wasn't it this one?
Yeah.
It could be, I mean, you can
Bridge.
tell it's been,
Yeah,
you
we
can just
went
tell
and
in the
replaced
aerial
it.
footage, it's been patched, and
Yeah.
I don't know how long
I
ago
don't
that
remember.
was.
Mike, did you do the one, did y'all work on this a couple, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yes.
why did it not get fixed right back then? I mean, why are we back?
Yeah.
No, what we're going from, currently it's a 60-inch opening. They're going to, how many feet, 60 feet?
It's about 65 foot of open area. It's 11 by 4 foot wide by 7 foot 2 tall. This-
Last time we did any work on the pipe failed, we just put back what was there. The road had collapsed in, we just put back what was there.
Can you do this and to help keep the cost down?
I mean, that's what we need to kind of,
We done it before, they
well, we need to kind of know that. I mean, we don't want to say it's a good idea and then, oh, well, you can't do it, and now it's gonna be 200,000.
No, we put them in for.
So, but you have a number on, a pretty firm number then, you're thinking for the, we put it in with the cost of the culvert and the county doing it?
I have a firm number on the cost of the culvert from the manufacturer or the supplier. I have a firm number I got with Mike on what y'all pay for asphalt, because we will have to cut the asphalt out and put that back in. Only thing I'm not certain about at this point is, we're going right back where it is. I'm worried a little bit about utilities. I guess if they're in the right of way, I don't know if that's something that'd be on the utility company if they were a problem or not. But
Only charge us to move everything now.
Yeah.
We better know that.
But I feel pretty comfortable with that number, yes, sir.
Which was what?
70,
Around 100,000.
100.
100,000 to the whole job?
Yes, sir.
Can we do it up to 100,000? And if it's more than that, readdress it?
Yeah, oh yeah. I don't, what he's talking about, that's our cost including our employees.
That doesn't,
You know,
don't
that
seem like you
really
do it
it's
for
gonna be
that.
less than that.
I'd be surprised you can do it for that. You know what I'm talking about? The culverts itself cost 70,000.
That's what I'm saying, so.
So
what
that's
else?
like
There's further
$30,000.
expense.
Asphalt.
That'd be good, be great if you
Yeah, a little
can.
patch there, yeah.
Michael, how do you feel on those kind of numbers?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I figured we do it then. Yeah.
I just do it now.
Do it then, all right. Okay.
Utilities, the only thing I'm really concerned about, I think.
Yeah, if we had any kind of locator or anything, have, so we don't know anything about utilities.
I'll call one in today, it'll be a few days before I figure out what we're
It'd be nice to know that, because that's been a surprise everywhere we go, hasn't it?
Well, let's just say
It's
this,
usually a
if there's gonna
surprise.
be any relocation utilities, the city's gonna take care of it. Okay, so I wanna make this a motion to add this item, to the agenda.
Second.
Motion to add this item agenda by Jay, second by Daniel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I make a motion to approve up to $100,000.
Second.
If it's over, we'll rediscuss.
Or City of Pearl will take the rest.
But if there's any utilities, yeah.
Well.
I'm confident it ain't gonna be more
You're talking
100,000.
just on utilities?
Yeah.
Yeah, I second.
Okay. Motion was by Jay, second by Daniel. That's it's up to $100,000, and any additional cost in utilities, you're saying,
Or if there's any additional cost, we'll revisit it.
Okay.
all right, motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, that's all we have. I don't think we have anybody else on, public comment, so to have a motion to approve, old business.
So move.
Motion by, I believe Jay, second by who? All this muffling up here.
Steve.
Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next, you can sit here patiently, Ms. Caroline Gilbert, tax collector.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all?
Good.
Good. All right, so A and B for me are pretty similar. A, I've got request to void 2018 and 2019 tax sales and refund any tax sale purchasers for PIN number 8896, PIN number 61889, PIN number 63564, and PIN 68868. Each of these properties were under bankruptcy and should not have been processed through the sale.
All right, I'll make a motion to take A and B together as written.
Okay?
To approve.
All right, motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad, take A and B together. All, favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, C.
All right, on C, we have a request to refund the mobile home taxes paid for the years 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 for the mobile home on that property that was destroyed during a fire 3 months after registering, and we were just notified.
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Steve.
I
Any
didn't think we
discussion?
could go back with 3 years.
We can only go back 3
Three.
years by state law, so, I would suggest
18,
that we
19.
refund the 2020, 19, and 18. And, if the applicant wishes to do so, there's a process that they could at least go to, they could ask the chancellor for permission of this board to refund an additional under some sort of hardship. But they would be responsible for going through that process and securing a court order and authorize y'all to reimburse that one. All we can do legally today is 3 years. I don't know which 3 it ought to be.
Well, why didn't they come sooner? I mean,
They never do.
Well, why don't we do the, say, what do you do, the first 3, the last
I
3?
would say that y'all can refund 3 years of prior paid mobile home tax on the basis of this fire situation, and let the applicant define for Caroline which of the 3 years it's gonna be, but we can only pay 3.
Okay.
All right, so that'll be my motion
All right.
for 3.
I'm okay with that. All right, that's, that'll be the revised motion.
Second.
By Daniel, second by Steve. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Okay, on D, this is just authorizing the services of Peregrine, who we use for all of our mail-out billings, to provide the billings for the tax statements that will go out in the next couple of weeks. This is just a technicality, and we are working, Craig, I contacted Peregrine too to see if we could work on lumping this all in a contract, so that we don't have to do this each year, but for now, this is to contract Peregrine for the tax statements and the tax statements only.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by
Jake.
Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Okay, on E, this is, I am working on our portion of the website, just trying to make it a little more user-friendly and to try to help cut down on some of our call volume. One of the largest items of requests that we get on the phone is how much is a tag going to cost? Typically with new purchases, used car purchases, not renewals so much, because that's already online. But this is something that I'm working with a programmer. It would really just be a link added to our website, but eGov nor our current IT can do it. So I've reached out to someone outside and they can get it done for us. So
Our IT cannot do it?
they are not programmers.
So moved.
can Jay do it?
Jay can do it. I don't think there's anything Jay can't do.
Second.
All right.
Are we seconding Jay doing it?
Yeah.
Can I, we've got a little information from Scott, our IT director. He will be involved in this, but the actual physical programming of the app, of the application, needs to be done by this group. They will provide that information then to Scott, who will then append it to the website. So he's involved, and he's looked at it, and based on what I'm seeing here from an email that he sent to Miss Janice, he's comfortable with what we're doing here. There's not going to be a problem folding this in.
The way I understand this, we have a large volume of
Yes.
calls
Yes.
that are tying employees up.
Yes.
Looking up to see
You have to
something
put
that may
in.
not even happen. Somebody's wanting to know
Correct.
how much my tag will be if I buy this car.
Correct. Correct.
and it takes up hours and hours and hours. If we have this, they can look it up themselves,
Correct,
and we can pay for it one time.
correct.
Okay.
So-
I still stay with my motion.
How you gonna push them to go to that? You just gonna say it's on the website? I mean,
Well,
'cause you know they're still gonna call you.
second piece of something that we're working on is an automated, when people are on hold, that they hear, that they can go to the website for
Okay.
certain, I mean, that's my goal, is to direct as much to the website as possible and make it as user-friendly as we possibly can, because they don't need to sit on hold for this.
Sound to me like you need to be on our committee for redesigning our website.
I would be the first person in line.
All right, that's one.
Well,
I'm not kidding, because
Me either.
I thought we put Bob Morrow on that.
Yeah, he was, but he's no longer here. So,
That was his number one goal. You know
yeah.
that?
I know.
Yeah, that's right.
I blame Bob for that. He's
People,
listening.
All
I
right.
guess younger than our age, that's sitting up here, they use those a lot more than we think. I mean, and I think it would be good.
well, and when people call too, they don't know what all information they need, whereas when you see it on a screen and it's a drop down, I need the VIN, I need to know who I bought it from, I mean, it's a point blank, if you don't know the answer
Step
to
by
this
step.
question, you can't get the answer anyways, and that's what we sit on the phone with them
Yeah.
a lot.
So we're just at the end of it. You probably don't know this answer, but you know, at the end of the day, once they get complete, we're gonna own it outright, and it will all be housed on our servers.
Yeah, this is basically, I have to put the tables together, they're just kind of writing the script to do the mathematical formulas.
Oh, so you gotta enter in all the data?
Some of it, but they would have no way to know that without me giving it to them. So, but basically, it will be something that I can tweak at any time.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Caroline, is that information that changes annually as far as the percentages?
Not necessarily, but potentially. You've got your legislative credit, some of your
I thought we lost him.
taxing. Correct. Correct. Which I would have access to. Mhm. Yep. Yep.
She's not still here.
The cost of vehicle.
We're paying her.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
She still works for us part-time.
I thought she worked for
Yep.
Becky's office.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
I don't even know who made the motion. Daniel made the motion?
Yeah,
Jay made
Steve
it?
second.
And Steve seconded. Any more discussion? Have we covered it all?
Yep.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay.
Thank y'all.
Hey, while I got you, what's the latest on what we're trying to do at the,
Flowood.
yeah,
Scott told me the end of last week that they had put out an RFP again, if Bridget still, and gave them until the 20th of this month.
okay.
So
I
that's-
just, well, I knew it had been discussed, and I
Yeah.
didn't know where it was. I just
Yeah.
wanted to find out
So
why you're here. Okay.
hopefully in a few days we'll
Okay.
have an answer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. John Sullivan.
Look, since I think Sullivan's not here, but I'll be willing to take A, B, C, and D all together if Slade's good with it, and wrap them into a motion
wait a
for
minute.
approval.
Well, there was a couple of things I think we wanted to check on. We wanted to answer really on C. I know I asked about one particularly myself, and I think Richardson was gonna find out something about one of Richardson's.
How about take A and B together then?
All right, we'll do
All
that.
right, so
Let's-
A and B
I wanna
together.
hear something about the other, but, all right,
He's not here.
That's what I'm saying. We have to
have a motion,
Yeah, A and B.
take A and B together. Have a
Second.
motion by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Just want
Table
to table
this one.
C and D.
Well, unless, Craig or somebody's heard anything. My question, I think you know what it was. My question was, asking us to do these, exemptions. Is Florence?
The cities.
Are the cities doing it?
Actually do the exemptions. My best recollection from a brief conversation that I had was that for each of these listed here, the affected municipality did grant the exemption. Okay, I'm pretty confident that each of these, the only one, Jared, that have any hesitation about is Voight.
That's what, that,
So what I would suggest we do is approve C with the exception of void fabrics.
Okay.
Pull it out, and let's confirm that Florence has provided a municipal Avalon exemption for void, or you could go ahead and approve it contingent upon us receiving proof that Florence has granted the Avalon exemption.
And
for
Richland, and Richland does
And
high fee.
and Richland for High. I'm almost 100% sure that Richland gave High
Yeah.
the exemption.
Okay.
But you can do that, and we'll get the contingency satisfied.
I'm fine as long as they are, because they've been there as long as I've ever known, and I just wonder if we continue to keep giving them
I'm
a
pretty sure that each of those
exemption.
contingencies will pass, but we'll get those in place. So why don't we just approve item C, and the contingency for Voith and High Bay will be that the municipalities where they're located have granted the municipal Avalon exemption.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds good.
And they qualify for our revised?
All of these are existing, Judge.
Oh,
these
never
are
mind,
new.
okay.
Yeah.
This is what Tom brought us.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Right.
All right.
Okay, I have a motion to accept it, with the exemption of Voth and, High Bay.
High Bay contingencies for both
Yeah.
of those.
Motion.
Okay. Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. D,
So move.
motion by Jay,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Ms. Bridget Herring.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have the rest of our term bids to open today. The first bid is for soil stabilization. We received one bid this morning for soil stabilization. It's from AdCamp. It's $6.50 per square yard. I recommend that be taken under advisement.
So move.
Okay. Motion by Jay, takes us under advisement.
Second.
Second by Steve.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next bids are for polyurethane foam application. The first bid is from Bulldog Construction.
What are we using that at?
Sidewalks.
Picking them
Yeah.
back up.
Right.
The first item, concrete sidewalk leveling and lifting, it's $9.25 per pound. Concrete curb and gutter leveling and lifting, $9.25 per pound. Void filling and undersealing, $9.10 per pound.
Is that the only one?
I have three.
Oh, you do have some more, okay.
That's good. We got some options there at least.
Yes. The next bid is from Tradeco Solutions. First item, concrete sidewalk leveling and lifting is $6 per pound. Concrete curb and gutter leveling, $6 per pound. Void filling and undersealing, $6 per pound.
You just forgot him.
The final bid is from Helms Polyfoam. The first item, concrete sidewalk leveling and lifting, $12.50. Concrete curb and gutter leveling and lifting, $12.50. Void filling and undersealing, $11.50 per pound.
Who is that from?
Helms,
Are they local?
out of Richland. Well, they have a post office box in Ridgeland, physical addresses in Richland. I recommend those be taken under
Are
advisement.
all of them, you say all of them are local?
That's double.
Tradeco was in Jackson, and then Bulldog is in Madison.
Yeah, okay.
I make most take those under advisement.
All right, motion to take these under advisement by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The final bids are for asphalt leveling and patching. The first bid is from J&L Enterprises. Item 1 is $88.40 per ton. Item 2, $89.40 per ton. This bid is from AdCamp. Item 1, $92 per ton. Item 2, $90 per ton. The next bid is from Dickerson and Bowen. Item 1, $125.50. Item 2, $128.50.
Must be a month.
Not like that last phone one, you know?
The final bid is from AJ Construction. Item 1, $90 per ton. And item 2, $90 per ton. I recommend those be taken under advisement.
So moved.
Okay, motion taken under advisement by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, you got up here.
I'll just stay right here. Like to request, $50 for virtual, slurry seal workshop.
So moved.
Where is this?
It'll be at my office, but they're
Virtual.
doing it down at,
Oh,
Virtual.
yeah.
You can be wherever you want. He could be in Tahiti.
doing it down at.
You gonna be in Tahiti watching this thing, Harrison?
All right,
Actually, it
motion-
was planned on being at the coast, Jared, but
all
with
this,
COVID
yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
There we
Well, motion by who? Who's it? Jay?
I did, yes.
Made
Bishop loves
motion,
virtual.
second by Daniel.
Yep.
All
Second.
right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
I just
opposed?
want to be there when Harrison has to log into a virtual class. I want to see him to go through all the different steps.
You got
sign
Dana.
in, Him call Word has to go there and do it. Word don't know it, and they crash the system. And it's going to wind up with Scott being over there trying to fix it.
No,
Okay.
he's gonna say, Dana, come in here and do
I want
this.
to see
That's
it.
right.
I just want to be there.
All right, anything else?
I would like to, I got one thing under additional, but I can either wait to additional business. I don't have it on the agenda, but I have
Fine
to
with
add
me.
it. If y'all wanna do it now or what?
I'm good.
I talked to Benton, County. They bought some equipment from us in the past. And, I wanna surplus a long arm, New Holland long arm and our old emulsion truck to them.
So who is this to?
Benton County, up north Mississippi.
You
How much
want
money we
surplus
get to
it
them?
Well, I mean, it's gonna be a cost to it. I
Okay.
mean, long arm's gonna be for 35,000 and the emulsion truck's gonna be for 40,000.
When I hear surplus, I think free.
Yeah, that's what I said.
He's
What's-
asking for an intergovernmental transfer of those two items,
Right.
and he's explaining to you that Benton County's gonna write him a check.
Okay.
Yep. Need a motion to add that then?
Need a motion to
So
add that.
so I'll make a
and
motion
put
to
on
add
the
it.
agenda.
Motion added to the agenda by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah,
Motion
motion to approve.
approved.
Yep.
Motion approved by Daniel,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank y'all.
Tim Parker. You got a whole list.
We do.
Morning.
Morning. First item we have, Mr. President, is Freedom Farms Part 2 and Part 3. We're recommending approval of those final plats. Those are District 4. And note that the developer is furnishing a cash collateral of $115,000 for those.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next item is Fallen Oak Phase 2. We're recommending approval of the final plat and letter of credit in the amount of $138,988.11. That's a District 4 development.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Just for the record, these are two really nice areas that these people have developed. There was nothing. And while we don't want to overgrow ourselves and our infrastructure, these guys are doing it large lots and doing it right. And I just want to thank y'all and the developers for the way this has been going for the last couple of years.
Yes, sir. Item 3 is Bell Chase subdivision. We're recommending approval of the construction drawings. That's a District 2 development off of Fannin Lennon Circle.
Yep, so moved.
Motion approved by Daniel,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next item, Mr. President, is approval of the LSBP program. The parentheses are blank there because state aid fills in the number for that program once they get it. That is to replace the Pleasant Street and Kirsch Road bridges. It's about a $850,000 project, all with LSBP funds.
Make a motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? Where are these?
Pleasant Street is in Brandon, right off of Shiloh Road. It's where I think that's where was that Brandon Academy that was on that? There's a school there. I think it was Brandon Academy one time. And then Kirsch Road is down south off of 18.
But
Is that the one that got to close 18?
No.
No,
It's a
sir.
little side road.
Okay. All right.
these, we're gonna, be getting funds in to assist
Right.
in these two.
Absolutely. This is fully funded with state aid
Yeah,
LSBP
Yeah.
funds. Yes, sir.
LSR, yeah. Okay, had a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next item, Mr. President, is approval of contract change order number 1 in the amount of $27,877.37 from Pearson Dozer Service LLC for additional clearing and grubbing along 16th section land for the purpose of relocating utilities. This is on Gunner Road. Southern Pine has some power line that needs some additional right-of-way, and it's much cheaper, as we've seen, for since we have a contractor under contract to do the clearing and grubbing under this contract.
This is gonna save somewhere on the order of about to $150,000 in utility relocation, because we were able to work with the school district to secure some additional right-of-way for utility relocation. So this is upping the clearing and grubbing part of that to clear that 16th section so that the utilities can go in there. And because of that, they're not gonna have to go buy right-of-way to relocate their utilities. Big savings for this relatively small ad.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next item we have, Mr. President, is on the Andrew Chapel Road Clearing and Grubbing Phase 2 project. We're recommending approval of payout number 1 to Thornton Construction Company in the amount of $84,229.57 for work from October 13th through October 31st, and authority to issue the check.
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion?
Yes. I went through, I just, and the people that have to travel that road, they're already saying, what, and we're not even doing the road yet. We're just, making it to where when they drive down through it, they don't have a limb hit there.
Yes,
It's
sir.
amazing how much just the clearing and grubbing has done.
Absolutely.
It's a great
See how they
job.
feel when you get torn up.
Yeah.
All right, motion and second on this. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
The last item we have, Mr. President, is on Andrew Chapel Road Bridge Replacement Project. We're recommending approval of payout number 12 to Joe McGee Construction Company in the amount of $198,444.27 for work from August 29th through October 31st, and authority to issue the check. That should be the next to the last pay request on this, and we'll have a final, but this is pretty much catching all the work items in it. We still have the retainage, but until they do the little punch list items, we're holding their retainage.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Jay.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey, Mr. Parker, while you're here, I know it's early in the holiday season and everything, so I just kind of want to put out one Christmas request. I know we do a lot of things for Christmas around here and people buy and share gifts, but what I'd like to ask this year under the tree for me in December is to contact Hempfield Construction and allow them to come back before Christmas, or maybe the day we do our little cooking up here, whatever. Invite them to eat, maybe they'll come for that. But I'd like to know the completion date on the North Shore Spillway Road project that's still undergoing and still being left out there incomplete. So if you don't mind, reach out to them before Thanksgiving in an email. Copy us all on it so all the board members can see their negative response. And ask them to come in the month of December for the holiday season and for the spirit and share a final update, or just any update, on the completion of this project that's now 3 years running on a 90-day project that they're doing at North Shore Spillway Road. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely, be glad to.
Thank you, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right,
No, we're not through. It's the
Over
craziest
here?
thing you ever seen. Crazy.
Mr. Slade,
I'm hoping they'll do it for Christmas.
you wanna combine some of these?
That's not asking for a
Yes,
lot.
sir. If we can, gentlemen, I'd like to combine items A, B, C, and D, which are to set public hearings for December 3 at 9 a.m. for those respective nuisance property considerations.
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Motion to approve, all these A through F.
D.
A through D.
D, excuse me, A through D by Daniel, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
For some reason, I don't know why I didn't include
That's
E,
why
but I
I
didn't
was
wondering.
include
I
E,
was just
so
wondering
I
myself.
apologize. So if we could have an amendment to that motion to add item E into that group, A, B, C, D, E as one motion for December 3.
Yep, I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Motion to add E to that group, Daniel, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Item F is the annual public hearing that we have for our stormwater management program update. I think FEMA and MEMA requires us to do that on an annual basis, so we'll have our hearing for public comments on December the 15th for our stormwater management program.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay. Do we need to call in, folks? Oh, we are, okay, thank you. All right, item G, gentlemen, is a public hearing on the Tammy Holloman conditional use permit. We'll open that public hearing, and at this time, I'll ask Ms. Holloman or anyone here to speak on the matter of the Tammy Holloman conditional use permit to begin making their way to the podium. That hearing is open. Ms. Holloman is seeking a conditional use permit to continue to operate a small USDA animal education facility in her home at 714 North Oak Ridge Drive. She owns a 1-acre lot in the Oak Ridge subdivision. This is off of Baker Lane. The business is advertised on Facebook. Ms. Holloman's application states that she offers private, prearranged educational conferences in her home for individual families and children with disabilities. She offers conferences for small groups and families 2 times a day, Wednesday through Saturday. Ms. Holloman is licensed with the USDA as a Class C exhibitor, and she has completed our animal variance form and submitted proof of insurance. This property is zoned RE1. At this time, that hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Tammy Holloman conditional use permit request. Is there anyone to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on the matter. If you have any questions of Ms. Holloman, she's here to provide answers. The staff has proposed some conditions that we would like to address to the board with your permission. We would propose that the hours of operation for this use be 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so that on any day, the hours of operation would fall within that window. We would request that a condition be no on-street parking. Since this is inside of a subdivision development, we would like to see any parking to be restricted to the property. We would request a condition of no more than 2 passenger vehicles for any event or session. That would keep folks from being out in the street or all up in the property in order to get the vehicles in place. We would request that there be no school buses for any of these events. The conditional use permit, if the board chooses to grant it, is not transferable by Ms. Holloman to anyone. And so if she closes the operation or moves away from that operation, the conditional use ceases to exist. And this conditional use that you would be granting would expire 1 year from the date of issuance unless the applicant files a request to renew that application with the Office of Community Development. This would provide an opportunity for the board to address the status of this situation in the land use on a continuing basis and on an annual basis. It'll give you an opportunity to revisit any questions that may be coming. She would be required to request a renewal within 30 days prior to the expiration. Otherwise, she would be required to reapply. Okay? Those would be the conditions that we would propose. Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Holloman?
Are you good with all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Y'all good, I'm good.
Yep, second.
All right, motion by Steve, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Steve, just for the record, that your motion was with the conditions
Right.
as announced.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, that public
Okay.
hearing is closed. Thank you, Ms. Holman.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, the next item under my section is a public hearing for the Dwayne Carr conditional use permit. This is a Hickory Ridge Road, District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask that either Mr. Carr or anyone here that is intending to speak on the matter of the Dwayne Carr conditional use permit begin making their way toward the podium. Mr. Carr is seeking
Somebody
a
out there.
Mr. Carr is seeking a conditional use permit to place a 2020 16 by 80 manufactured home on Hickory Ridge Road. This is a 16.5 acre parcel of family land. It's zoned RE1A. There are 3 other homes on the property. If the conditional use permit is approved, Mr. Carr will survey out a 2.50 acre parcel from the manufactured home. So that public hearing is open. If Mr. Carr is in the room, he should step forward. Gentlemen, we've been in communication. Sir?
See if anybody in
Yes.
opposition.
Is there anyone here in opposition on the Dwayne Carr matter? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You'll step forward, please. Gentlemen, before we get into that, let me explain that.
Hang on, Mr. Carr, you can sit down for a minute.
Just hang on. I think our community development staff has been in touch with an attorney who has been assisting Mr. Carr with trying to determine ownership issues and some other things. The last communication that we had with council was that he has not finished the work that he needs to finish in order to establish the actual ownership situation as it relates to this property. This is a state property, air property, and so there is some issue of addressing title and ownership and the transfer of ownership and title and possession and those kinds of issues that are really beyond the purview of the board. The concern that the staff would have is that if we move forward considering the conditional use permit without having some sort of determination about ownership, you may be making decisions that could potentially apply to a piece of property for which there's been no status of ownership established.
So what do you suggest?
Yeah, I would suggest again that we table this consideration until such time as we have been provided, the staff has been provided, and I've had an opportunity to see proof that Mr. Carr actually owns title and possession to a 2.50 acre piece of property. Or it's close enough that upon surveying it out, that issue
Right.
of ownership will have been established.
Right.
Okay, we're just not at that point. I didn't want to intrude on Mr. Carr's opportunity to address the board if the board feels of a mind to let him speak on this matter, but that would be our recommendation, is to table until we have the status of ownership determined.
It's really not much reason to even hearing from anything
No,
really,
that's correct, Jerry.
for or
That's why I
against.
mentioned it, yeah,
For or against, till we know whether it's even potentially could be.
that's correct.
I mean, I hate y'all came all this way, but at this point, we really, you know,
Do you want to go ahead and hear them since they're here? So they don't have to come back for next time?
well, I mean, should we,
At least the opposition side.
well, I mean, I guess, I don't mind, but you may have to come back. But yeah, I mean,
Ma'am, if you don't mind, step forward, give your name and address your concerns to the board about the request.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Smith. My address is 324 Hickory Ridge Road. Regarding ownership, the property, like you guys said, is air property, but I've submitted paperwork to your office that shows where Mr. Carr's mother gave up her ownership to her sister. And there's really, he doesn't have any stake in the property. His mother gave that, her property up, I forget the year, but it's on record here. And with that, he has no legal, what am I trying to say, interest in the property.
So that's what your opposition to it is?
Yes.
Okay, all that's gonna be dealt with civilly,
Right.
not really us. We were more for like, if you're opposed to it for some other reason, for just it being there. But as far as the legality of it.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's gonna be between Mr. Carr and his attorney to get all that straight.
Okay, well, that's my only reason up here.
You got you're in the house right there, McCain Lane, one on the corner.
Right, that one.
Actually, the one where we're supposed to be, there's a house behind it that's supposed to have been redone, about 2 years ago.
Right, that property there.
Okay, that's something that I don't guess address now, but that's something we will have to address.
Right.
Y'all were supposed to have done a whole lot to it, and you've not done anything to it. It's supposed to either be torn down or
No.
fixed. So anyway, I'm just, at this point, let you know that's not gone away and it's fixing to come back up. So,
That'll be fine.
okay. All right, just let you know. Anyway, glad to be able to talk to you. Thank you. So at this point, really, I don't guess there's anything,
Make a motion to table it.
Unless you want to hear from Mr. Carr.
I mean, well, we'll give him a chance. Yeah.
Mr. Carter, just know, we're not gonna get into y'all's, whether you
Legal,
own the property or
anything.
not.
So I mean, we can't make any decision whatsoever. That's simply a legality part that you all have to attend to.
Well, yeah, I can deal with that, but the executive deed that was set up has nothing to do with, it's just our family. It's for our families, for him, my cousin or uncle, and also for our cousins or families. So, I don't know what the issues that they have, but I've gave you all the information I needed that you asked for the executive deed, the probate of my mother's, and also of that corner of the land. And that, my goal was to, my home in that corner. They cannot control that land.
Well, and I can agree with you, disagree with you, it really doesn't matter. This board doesn't make those decisions. And as attorney will tell you, and has already said, this is something a court or someone else is gonna have to make that then bring to us, that he will then look at and say, yes, this is yes or no, proved or not. So
I don't know
really,
if you've heard our attorney when you're walking in, he said he spoke with your attorney.
Yeah.
And your attorney said you're still lacking some information.
Well, yeah.
so we really can't do anything other than hear your story, and it makes no bearing on our decision because it's all got to do with legalities, and we go down this road on other situations also. This is not new to us, but we can't honestly say yes or no. We don't have the law.
The executive deed and the deed that they have is illegal.
Well, that's for a court or between you all to decide and then bring to us as to our attorney, your attorneys. All this will be decided in some type of court. And it's a civil matter, like you said, and then bring it. So at this point,
if the deed is illegal.
Yeah, but we can't make that
A
decision.
judge is going to make it.
We can't. We're not
So-
judges. Thank goodness.
Let me explain it that way. Let me tell you, have a seat. if you don't mind.
So to help Mr. Carr understand,
Yeah.
the title to the property is not in Dwayne Carr. The title to the property is in folks that have passed on, mother, aunt, etc. The vesting of ownership has yet to be determined. That is, where did it go upon death or preceding death, if the title abstract suggests that somebody transferred interest. Those are all issues that have not yet been sorted out. Mr. Carr does not actually own title to anything at this stage. Now, he may be an heir with the rights, but that has to be determined by a court. This board does not have authority to declare who owns the property. This board gives authority what you can do with that under our regulatory context. Okay, so Mr. Carr needs to get back with his lawyer, and he needs to address any issues that the lawyer brings to his attention about what he needs in order to evaluate the status and the ownership of the property, and then go seek to have title placed into Mr. Carr officially by way of either a court order or a deed. And then when we have that information, we will reschedule this action before you, but not until. We We don't need to do conditional uses when it's not clear who owns the property. I don't know that Mr. Carr is the right person to be asking. That's the point. Okay?
That answers your question. Actually, I'm sorry for you drive over here, but now you know where we are. And so all of you, you know, to get this worked out, we really at a stopping point. Stalemate. We can't do anything at all until a court tells us what we can't, what the legal rights are.
That's right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So that public hearing is closed. We'll move on to item I, Mr. President. If, and I believe, did we get a motion on that? I'm sorry. We need a motion, Mr. President. We're going to need a motion to table that matter.
Motion.
And
Okay.
what I would suggest, let's table it to a date certain, and we'll table it to the 3rd of December.
Well, would we not table it until they
I
come
don't
up
know
with
if it will
something?
be or
They
not.
need to come up with their stuff.
Why
Yeah,
don't we
they're
just
gonna
table
come
it
up
till
with their stuff.
we got, then said.
Generally, I know we don't
Table it.
necessarily have to table, follow Robert's rules, but when we table, we like to table to a date certain so that the folks who are here know when they need to be prepared to come back.
Yeah, that's fine.
We may want to look at that January work session. Janice, what is the date?
Or December the 15th, you said?
Well, I said maybe, but that's a.
I'm not putting it on the 15th. If that don't work, we'll table it again.
Are we going to have?
That
the
way,
end
if
of
they
the
have
year?
it together, they can go move on.
Well, if it's not, if they don't have their stuff together on the 15th, why can't we just decline it? Or
We
take a
could,
vote?
Steve. I'm just
Give 'em a
trying, what I'm
call.
trying to do is to give plenty of time for the attorney to
Go
get
another
stuff
one.
situated.
You talking about another work session beyond the 3rd?
Yes, ma'am, the next work session,
Okay, it would be the 31st.
December 31st. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
but-
January
We're
31st.
going to have a New Year's Eve work session.
Thing to say.
Wait, wait just a second.
It's December the 3rd.
We won't have New Year's Eve work
Yeah,
session.
because we got New Year's Eve holiday on the 31st.
All right,
So it'll be the 30th on that Wednesday.
December 30th.
If y'all decide to do that, sometimes.
30th, 3rd,
30th.
The 30th.
Y'all-
Sometimes y'all have decided not to do work session during the holidays.
Why don't we just put it
so
on
that's
the
gonna be up
15th?
to y'all.
Just make it the 15th and we'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that, and then but if you don't have the information, we'll just pull that from the agenda.
By then, we'll know that
Right.
January work session
Right.
date.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so
I have
the
a
motion would be to
then
table it to the 15th
Table it
of
to the
December.
15th.
Yep.
By
Okay.
Steve, second by
December
Daniel.
15th, 9 o'clock. No, December the 15th. Yes,
Yeah,
next month.
next
All in favor, had a motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hopefully you'll have everything in order by then, Mr. Carr.
And if you don't, what we'll do, we'll just, take it off the agenda. Okay, all right, well, good luck to
Have
y'all.
everything in line when you come back. Let's go around.
All right, good deal.
Okay?
Appreciate you.
Good luck.
For the record, that matter's closed.
Okay, all right.
Item I, under my section, Mr. President, is authorization of the board president to execute the amended MOU between Rankin County Youth Court and Mississippi College. This is an AOC court grant program. The amended MOU does not alter any responsibility of the county under the original MOU. This is nothing but changing some wording for the grant administrator. Y'all already approved it, so we're just asking for authority to re-sign the amended MOU.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Jay, Steve, second by Daniel. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Item J, Mr. President, is a discussion of and potential action regarding Rankin County's participation in the Public Service Commission initiated investigation into drainage issues that affect the private drainage easements and private property in Hidden Hills subdivision. This is the sinkhole on North Haven Place in Hidden Hills subdivision. This is what precipitated all of this.
This one that you ran the camera or took pictures of?
That's right.
Okay.
And so as a result of that particular issue, we had a significant meeting at the property with utility providers, representatives of the Public Service Commission, one of the commissioners of the Public Service Commission, representatives of the county, representatives of the Hidden Hills HOA, the property owner. All of us gathered out there and addressed or looked at the issue. And at the site of the property, I walked everybody through the issue of why the county cannot be involved in conducting public work on private drainage easements. And not to be deterred, the HOA had basically continued to beat the drum that this is the county's responsibility. And so a subsequent investigation revealed that there may be a lot more at play here than originally figured, calculated. I think Daniel, in fact, personally discovered that there appeared to be a strike, a cut in the drainage infrastructure on private property by one of the utility providers. And
Board
so,
company.
yes, so the PSC has put together a document that would provide for some sort of investigation of not just this area, but they want to go much broader scope and look at all of the sinkhole areas inside Hidden Hills as a part of this process to try to determine whether or not utility activity or something else is going on that is creating or causing sinkholes to develop in Hidden Hills. And so I asked him if he didn't mind looking at the actual proposal and address any concerns that he might have. Here's the upshot of it. What PSC is wanting to do here is to pay for a neutral engineering analysis to determine if an explanation for the cause of these sinkholes can be exposed. And that way a responsible party pursued to do the repair work. Okay? The cost of the engineering is, Tim, do you remember what each party's, I don't remember 100% what the cost was. Yeah, I think it's just, it's indeterminate. There was an estimate that I talked to Brent about. There's some amount of money, each party to this proceeding, all of the utility providers, the county, the HOA would pay a pro rata amount towards the engineer. Before we get to that point, I wanted to address with the board whether there was any interest at all on the part of this board to participate in this investigation. The commission needs to know that before we get farther into this. Because if the county says we're not going to participate, they got to redo all of their numbers, their pro rata numbers.
If we participate, to what extent? I mean,
just the engineering analysis, Jared, just to determine if there's an explanation for why the sinkholes are developing.
Who's going to determine that if we don't?
Well, it's going to have to be the HOA or the private property owners themselves on a case-by-case basis if their property's being affected.
Okay, let's just say we don't, then they step in, they do this, then they're going, okay, and they find a way to put it at our fault, then we're going to then have to go in and do our own.
Yeah, so the fault part of that, Jared, is jurisdictionally bounded. It's got to be in the right-of-way. Presumptively, it can't be, if it's outside the right-of-way, it won't be the county's responsibility.
But they're all very, very close. I mean,
Many of the
it's like that
sinkholes.
other one.
It's
I
going to
mean,
be all
it's so
bore
close.
holes where they bored pipes now.
But that's kind of my thing. I don't have a problem with going along and assisting the Public Service Commission because from our knowledge, I'd like to know what's causing the thing anyway. I mean, as far as whether or not we've got true issues with the people laying the subs that come in and install this fiber and stuff. This really gives us a true definition from this third party to be able to hold these subs a little bit more accountable to the regs. So,
I didn't
kind of
think
money
it was
we talking
necessarily the
about?
subs, it was just where that plastic goes into the concrete.
well, the problem is we're having it in multiple areas to where the subs are getting outside of what the plans say, right? So the plans dictate certain pathways. Subs get there and say, well, look, this is not really a good spot. Let's go somewhere else. So it's a combination of a lot of different things, but this gives us the oversight on the damages to all these places that allows us to be involved with it. So I'd rather be involved with it than I had not involved with it.
What kind of money we talking about?
Well, we don't know the answer to that, Jared. I'm going to have to go back and ask Brent to give me the precise amount that would be expected for the county's contribution. I didn't want to get to that point if the board was of the mind, we don't want to participate in any of this.
We're splitting it like three ways?
It's actually being split about 7 or 8 ways right now, Steve. Each of the utilities are in, the HOA is in, We would be in possibly, the city of Flowood has infrastructure in this area. They may be participating as well. There's about 7 or 8 parties. My understanding is that all of the utilities are in. They want to participate because they want to know, are there subs causing this
Well, I mean,
damage?
we may be responsible for it anyway.
And if we are, we'll fix it. But I mean, that's why I'd like to be involved with it to see the numbers as it comes down. But
Right.
I'd like to get a cost.
We got an inspection man going around checking all this, and I mean, we can sit out there and be.
What I'd like, what I would like to suggest, if the board's of a mind, is that you authorize our participation up to and not exceeding a dollar figure. I would say $20,000. If we're asked to participate to that amount, we're out.
Can we not,
I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, I think it's fine to a point to where up to that amount.
Yeah.
Which,
It'll be that amount or less.
Yeah, it's no way it's gonna be more than that, I wouldn't think, because
because
especially if
they're
they're gonna
just doing,
split
they're just
across
coming,
all those people.
You got 7 groups splitting it, and you just having the crew go out and inspect it. They're not doing any
Yeah.
work other than look
Right.
at it. I
And
mean,
they're not coming up with solutions, they're just identifying the problem.
identifying the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Probably.
say, why would we put $20,000 in it to identify the
Just
problem?
just to keep having to come back here and doing it again. We don't know what the number's gonna be.
Can we wait till we get the number?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can.
I mean,
We
that's,
can.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, let's do
Get
that.
the
Just
exact
wait
number.
till we get a number. If it's 50,000 split 7 ways,
So what I'll do, with your permission, is indicate to the PSC, to Commissioner Bailey, that the board is not dismissing it. The board is interested, but we need to know what is our cost participation gonna be.
I like
We
that.
should show some movement that, I mean, the other thing is for them to go file and us have to go to court.
Yes,
and us
sir.
pay you, and not, well,
Yes, sir.
lawyers, a whole lot more than what,
To do the same thing.
and nobody's gonna split that with us.
But we're saying, I think it's good that we put it out there, that we are willing to participate. Let's get an idea of what our participation is.
just don't throw a number
We're
out
not
there.
saying no,
Right.
we want to know. I think they want to do the same thing.
All right?
Well, how do we need to handle that? Just say we're gonna, I mean, how,
You've already handled it. You indicated to me to go back to
Okay.
Commissioner Bailey and indicate that the county
I'm fine
will
with that.
presumptively
Good idea.
participate, but we need to know what the cost requirement is first.
Somewhere, yeah.
All right. Item K is the ratification of and continuing authorization for myself on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to request that MDEQ rescind all permits issued to Gold Coast or any entity related to Gold Coast for operations at the Lake Road Pelahatchie disposal site. The commission has already voted to rescind the permits that were issued to Gold Coast for the Lake Road site. All this is doing is asking that you document on your minutes that I, on your behalf, made a written request months ago that the board impanel a commission to determine whether or not the permits ought to be rescinded. So this is nothing more than papering up what you had already done.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item L is authority of the county coroner to handle the cremation of an unclaimed body. You see the name there, pursuant to the county's indigent cremation policy, and authority to pay the invoice of Mississippi Mortuary in the amount of $350. You have to approve that anytime there's a finding that there's no one available to take care of that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Guess he died in Rankin County, didn't
Item M. This is it's a new day in Rankin County, isn't it?
Did he, yeah, that's a good point. Did he die?
I think it's a good sign that Mr. Farish?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey,
why it's on our
what did we ever decide about the thing, what David, the coroner wanted?
Yeah, so you guys authorized David to approach each of the mortuary services. They gave proposals, if you recall. These are services proposals, but they gave us proposals, and you guys authorized David to enter into agreements with any of those three, but in a specific order.
Right.
And so the Chancellor Home down in Florence, Jared, is one, Dean Memorial is another,
Okay.
and then, of course, Mississippi Mortuary is the third, and they are in that order David goes to them and asks about their space. They gave us proposals for daily storage up to a particular number, and he uses them sequentially. And we told him, don't go to Mississippi Mortuary until you get to a point where you're spending more for each of these other two than could be spent on a monthly basis with Mississippi Mortuary. It's unlikely he's going to ever get to Mississippi Mortuary. More than likely, he'll be able to cover what he needs to be covered with those first two. But that was the fallback position that the board wanted, and we didn't want to get into a county mortuary situation at this time. We may have to, but we didn't want to do that at this time. So that was the plan we used instead.
Okay, we'll make sure all that worked out.
My last conversation with him, he was happy.
Okay, good.
Okay, item M, appointment of Keith Hicks as Rankin County Administrator effective today, and authority for Keith Hicks to sign purchase requisitions and other necessary documents related to the position. You have to do this on your minutes, by the way, or he won't have any authority to do anything.
I make a motion to appoint Keith Hicks, our county administrator.
Yep, second.
Is he ready for it?
He's ready to go over there. Look at it. He's
Ready
had
or not.
He's had one board meeting. Congratulations.
Motion by Jay, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Congratulations.
Gentlemen, I've got a couple of matters that I'd like to address with you as additional under my section, if you are willing. One would be the interlocal agreement with Rankin County School District on our on our Chancery Clerk's excess fee monies.
Right.
Let me ask you, at our last meeting, it looked like, I don't want to get ahead of you guys, but it looked like there may be some meeting of the minds on a $250,000 contribution of the excess funds by the Chancery Clerk, splitting that up as follows. There's 9 high schools that are involved. Everything that relates to funding is related to high school athletic activities, okay? And the structure of the agreement would be, the county will receive from the Chancery Clerk a contribution of $250,000. I'm looking at my deputy. She's over there choking down 250 grand, okay? $100,000 of that 250 would be set apart and assigned to 5 high schools, and those high schools would be Brandon, Northwest, Pearl, Richland, and Florence. $20,000 each, specified to athletic activities and events. That handles $100,000 of the 250, leaving a balance of $150, which would be split among 4 high schools: Puckett, Pisgah, McLaurin, and Pelahatchie. Each of those 4 high schools would receive $37,500. You would be asking the school district to agree to that split among the high schools, right, of 8 of those. So it'd be $80,000 plus the $150. So the Rankin County School District would be provided $230,000 under its interlocal. Pearl would have a separate interlocal, separate school district, and they would receive a $20,000 contribution out of the total $250. Right? So that's how that's the structure of the 2 separate interlocals and the amounts, the dollar figures that it looked to me like we had sort of reached an agreement on, right? Okay. In that interlocal, it will say to the school district that they are required to agree to the breakdown, and then the school district and the Pearl separate school district, respectively, would be required to see to it that those funds were restricted to use for athletic purposes only. They can't spend it on the glee club if they have those. I don't even know. But they can't assign those dollars at the school district level to some use that's separate and apart from what the agreement says, right? And we talked through the possibility that they could assign someone at the school district level to sort of oversee the distributions of those funds, so that it went to identified individuals at the respective schools who could control and be accountable for the use of those funds.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I want to add on to it. I want to be sure, in my opinion, that the wording goes to the principal and the athletic director at each of those schools to
Exactly.
determine where the money was. The second part to that I wanted to be sure we added was that by doing this, that the school district doesn't withdraw any funds equivalent to what we're giving them. In other words, for example, if we're giving $20,000 to Northwest, for example, that the school district doesn't remove $20,000 from the athletic program to neutralize that, and the school district is able to put money somewhere else. This is in addition to the regular funding that they're given this fiscal
Right.
year. Not
It's like a bonus.
That's correct. Not to be depleted in a number to be pulled out of it.
So no offset of funds
Yeah.
to the respective schools.
Same way with Pearl on
Yeah.
that point, that they agree not to deplete what was already there and
Right.
use this as their funding mechanism.
Yeah, so the intention of the board clearly is that this would be in the nature of a gift to these respective high schools and the athletic programs in these high schools that would be on top of what their current funding from the school district is.
Correct.
No budget impact.
One-time deal for now.
One time,
We'll
that's
look at
right.
it again.
By the way, the language is already set up in the interlocal, and I don't expect you guys to have read all this, but the language is in there that, that this is not to be a continuing agreement of any kind, that the parties are required to come back on an annual basis to determine whether or not this sort of program will continue, all right? So, with your permission, I would like for a motion to be made that what I just outlined as the structure of the agreement with Daniel's comments about fine-tuning some language, that the president be authorized to execute the respective interlocals on behalf of the board once that's all finalized and everybody's satisfied with the language, and then sent to the school district for approval.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jay. Any discussion? I'd like to say Florence and Richland appreciate anything you get, and I guess they ought to feel real proud to be put up in the category with these big schools
Big
that they're
schools.
not even close to. So, yeah, they still play the little schools, so that's kind of odd that, but they appreciate anything they can get. But yeah, they still play, Pelahatchie and Puckett and Pisgah. Yeah.
I'm just happy to be in crowd of Pearl, You're welcome.
So
Thank
they
you.
appreciate it, but yeah, I do, that is kind of, so they can say they were put up in the big boys for one time.
Jared, I think that's going to be to add that to the agenda, if I may.
Okay.
So that was
Oh,
Daniel
motion,
and Jay.
that was to add?
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion.
Make a motion.
Motion, well, you
just
already
need to
added.
vote.
Yeah,
Oh,
we just need to vote
on it.
on adding it.
Yeah, I had discussion, and then, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, now I'll make a motion to approve
So
by
moved.
Daniel.
Yep.
Second by
Second.
Steve, Jay, second by Jay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Gentlemen, one additional item to add is a discussion of our package retailer situation. And we asked the PRV folks to hang around. I appreciate y'all being patient with us. The direction that I'm looking for here is whether or not there is any concern on the part of the board with respect to our current zoning that allows for package retailer operations. That's already in your zoning. You remember last time we talked about this. Long ago, back in '04, the board back then was aware enough that it could happen at some point, that it was planned for. So in your current zoning ordinance, you already have delineation for package retail operations. Okay? It's already there. It's been there since '04, I think, right? Yeah. So back then, it said, I believe it was attenuated to commercial areas. It may have been, I don't know if it was classified exactly like this, but the way that we use the package retailer option today is for anything that is zoned C2 and C3. All right? So everything that is currently eligible for package retail operations under the new law, qualified resort status, everything that's in there is already C2.
So can we go ahead and limit the number that we will allow in the small area that we do have?
Let
Can
me
we add
add
that
something.
to our
Let me-
ordinance?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with you. But let me ask, why do we have to do anything? Because to me, just because the resort status deal, you know, that's gonna create so much everywhere in the county, problems. Why can't we just wait and not do anything till it's put on referendum? If they wanna vote the county wet, which they probably would, let's just do it. They'll free up that. It's gonna look like we singled out, even though PRV, I mean, the state has said this resort status, it does. It looks like, for us, it's hard for us to explain that to everywhere else.
Well,
And so why do we have to do anything?
Well, because we have areas already that are qualified resort status. Just because we have those areas doesn't mean that this board does not have some authority to regulate the land use on top of what the state has authorized.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not supporting it until they put it in the whole county, so y'all can discuss it, but I'm against it, period. I've already heard the comeback already. People that believe it or not, listen to our board meetings have said, how come you don't let them do it? Oh, just because they're in a special area. You know, so I mean, I understand their point, and I see that, you know. Then the guy across the street there, he can't do it. You know, I'm just using an example. The guy across the street can't do it because I just didn't get in that little resort status area.
We're kind of playing the hand that's been dealt to us. It's the state that has authorized it.
Yeah.
And they attenuated it to qualified resort areas.
Yeah.
This board didn't get voted on that,
I know.
unfortunately.
That's what's bad. You're right. We don't even get a say in it.
It's, for us, it's even worse than what you get, because we, in our district, we have areas that this side of the street, they can sell it, and this side they can't, you know?
Well, and see, ours, the people, some I'm talking to don't realize about this, like, what is resort status?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to explain that, and they say, well, we'll never qualify for it. So, you know, my thing is, until you vote the county that way, I'm out.
It's
Put it out there, let them vote.
You don't have that, I mean, it's up to this board. We could decide to let it be wet today.
Nah, I wouldn't dare do that either.
I'm just saying that you
county-
don't have to have a referendum for it.
Well, I think the people need to speak
But
on
actually,
that.
the people did speak up at the reservoir. They voted for it.
Yeah, well, I'm not voting for it. You go ahead.
Okay.
Move on.
So what we're needing some direction on is, are we going to look at regulating through the zoning, or are we gonna look at attempting to regulate in some other fashion? And when I say regulate, I'm talking about things like hours of operation, things like whether or not it's going to be connected. They're gonna be square footage requirements, which is what PRVs, that was their chosen path. Whether or not there's gonna be some sort of requirement, Jay, introduced that would say there has to be so many feet separation between each operation.
Right.
And limitations on the number within proximity.
Yeah.
I think at least we should take PRVs and have that, and then we probably are gonna have some additional things that we may wanna put on.
We hadn't got theirs completely.
No, they've got their resolution done, because look, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have, well, they've already approved it. There's
Yeah, I
two
know,
liquor
but I
stores
mean,
coming
didn't you
to
come
Rankin
up,
County.
they still hadn't got the numbers yet. They're still working on that, I think.
What do you mean the numbers?
What you talking about, the number of how many in a certain area? Y'all hadn't come up with that yet?
Well, I haven't been instructed to do that.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But I anticipate it's.
That's what you thought, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because we originally talked about that, this debate first came, like, Mr. Slade told y'all, this was a surprise to us as well. So we didn't request it. It was a surprise to us as well. I was unsure when informing my board, if I could constitutionally tell them this number and no more.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so our chosen path to regulate it was through the resolution. They were terrified of the little pop-up shops that are 500 square feet, so they imposed the square foot. And we want to see what kind of, what kind of demand we have. And that was quite large.
Yeah.
So that's why we anticipate imposing some density, spacing requirements.
Right.
With the distance for PRV in y'all's amendment or whatever, is 400 feet, or the county's 500 feet on beer sales, or, I mean.
Slade, are we at some kind of legal position to where, if it's been approved by the legislature to be in resort status, and we have resort status there, and exclude the PRV side, and a business owner comes to us and say, I fall in the resort status, I'm qualified on that, then I guess the question comes back to us is, does it apply to our zoning?
That's
Or does it
correct.
apply to our ordinance?
Yeah, so your zoning says
Yeah.
C2, C3 with a conditional use.
Right.
As a conditional
Right.
use. This board has zoning authority to introduce conditions on the land use. So just because it's C2 doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
Right, so whether or
There's
not the,
still conditions.
and whether or not the county is wet or dry has no relevance on this point.
That's correct.
Because it deals with directly of that business owner that falls into that resort status, that's into that block of it, that's now not in PRV, that's in the county, that's coming to us that we have to make a decision on that particular business or that request for conditional use. So that's where we need the parameters where we wanna go.
But it's hard to sell.
So
You're
what
right.
if we were, rather than saying, you know, a distance from another, since it's such a small area, why don't we, could we not say within the same building or
Same complex?
Yeah.
Plaza, strip,
Jay, what I'm concerned
mall.
about
That's gonna
is
create
if we
a ruckus.
try to, and we see this constantly,
It's
when we
like
try to
gas
set up
station.
fences,
Yeah.
Gas station.
invariably, they're gonna figure out ways.
Go around it?
Yeah, so what's gonna happen is,
But you
they're gonna
can't, you don't tell that gas
divide
station he can't
the
do
strip
that.
center
That's what's
into
happening.
two pieces of property.
I'm not gonna get it, I'm gonna stay out.
So then we just need to do
Well,
within so many
there's
feet.
another discrepancy in my mind that sits out there for the reservoir, is you have the overlay district. So the overlay district is our own little, I don't wanna call them imaginary boundaries, cause there are legitimate legal boundaries of that reservoir district. We could have the discussion on whether or not we wanna authorize X number of those facilities or own regulations inside that overlay district, which then is gonna encompass most of those, not all, but most of the resort area statuses that's there. I was just sitting there thinking that the resort area gives us another boundary that we could.
I don't know, I think we do better just say without so many feet of an existing facility, that way we'll take care of it. But I don't know what number that which should be, whether it be 1,000
That's what I
or,
don't find, I think it don't.
because I don't wanna give all the power to PRV to be able to control everything that's out there. And so, you know, I would like to, whatever way we could limit it to only 2 is what I'd like to do. I think that's more
Well,
than
see,
ample.
but see, that's where everything's gonna come into a confusion space is because PRV can allow 3, 4, up to 5 in their area.
Right.
Where if you go across the street, now we limit that to 2 across the street from it.
Right.
So I mean, still the number goes up, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Just because, I mean, they're in a position right now where they already approved 2, 3's on the table for
Well,
this week.
PRV plus, you know, they go all the way down 471.
That's
They
right.
got tons of areas
That's
they
right.
can put this, you
That's
know,
right.
so. But I was just thinking about our small little area that we have, which is very small. I mean, it literally is within a couple of blocks of each other.
Will they start coming to their petition to get that resort status, extended and keep on extending?
Yes, so the
But
state.
the legislature would have to do
proposed
that.
To expand the qualified resort area that's currently in
see
place.
that coming.
That's the state that does that. They control, under Title 67, they control the delineation of the qualified resort status. You guys don't get to set that. Y'all don't, you're a part of, obviously, the legislative process. You can speak on the issue, but it's done by the state legislature.
So there has to be C1, C2, and resort status. C2 or C3 and in resort status.
How many
So
feet
see,
away
then
from
that-
another.
You have to be C2 or C3 and in resort status.
So really, the way to
How we
analyze
could
this.
limit it to
so
just
it's
2.
clear in
Let's
your
take
head.
our area
The very
and
first
figure out how many
thing that
feet
has
it
to
would be.
happen is it has to be qualified resort status.
I mean,
You don't even
I'd
ask
be
about
happy with
C2 or
1.
C3
you know.
Right.
unless it's qualified.
But
Yeah.
And the legislator's the only one that can decide if it's resort.
Just for our little area, so.
People didn't vote for that.
So
The
if
legislature
cities
gave it to them.
wanted to make, let's take Florence, for example, if they wanted to make their,
They come up.
a
All right,
portion
how
of their
about
property or
Let's ask them to come up.
inside
and get our
city
distances
limits
where
and
it's
resort status, they could
They can
file a
go to the
petition.
legislature and ask a legislator to draft a piece of legislation that adds a specific area to the definition of qualified resort status. It's common, if you will take the time to go look at 6715 Sub-Glen Oak and just page after page after page after page of little bitty defined areas. I'll give you the example of
Right,
Rankin
right, but
County.
he's there by himself. He's
One
gonna get it
specific
all.
area is that portion of Rankin County that lies east of east of Old Fannin, south of Spillway, west of Lake Mystic Place, or west of Newport Boulevard.
Well, you can have one, but if you can have another, it's gotta be so many feet away.
That is a
That's why, that's a better way of
descriptor
saying it.
of a
See what I'm
qualified
saying?
resort area.
So that's what I was trying to get to,
567
just
state
up
law.
there, what's our footage to say
That little
away
block.
from each other?
But,
was defined
and there's
as
all kind of fingerprints throughout that same legislation giving other areas resort status. I mean,
Yes.
it's not just the reservoir. I mean, there's,
area over in the town of Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Right.
There's a place down on the
Right.
coast that's a defined area.
there's multiple fingerprints
Right.
throughout the
So,
map.
before our next meeting, why don't we figure out how many feet that we could do to limit, say, you can have one here, and there can only be another one with so many thousand feet, or what it could come to.
So what I want the
Just thinking
board
in that
to,
area up
yeah,
there.
what I want the board to really think through is, is whether or not it's appropriate for the board to introduce limiting factors such as not more than this many within so many feet of each other,
Yeah.
or if we let the market do that. Because
Yeah,
once
that's gonna
we
look like-
get
like somebody,
5 or 6
like somebody paid
that's
somebody
on PRV,
crazy.
that's a self-limiting factor at some point.
Right.
Not all of those are gonna survive. And I think the market's gonna help to settle some of this out. It's gonna help to settle it out. There's gonna be 3 or 4 maybe in that area, that geographic
3 or
area
4
that
coming
can
to us.
survive.
I mean, we're gonna have a few ourselves. That's
Yeah.
why I was saying, let's just go ahead and limit it now, rather than having to go through this whole process of giving them their certification or their permit.
So the way it is right now, Jay, because of the state law, which says they cannot be within so many feet of another type of land use that is on the list, such as a nursing home.
Right.
That's under ours, isn't it? That's ours. Under our current zoning, we say, help me Renee with the list, school, daycare facility, church,
Big wood frame up there, front on it right now, wood front on
All right, so have y'all calculated out how many, where all that, how many can fit inside our current existing ordinance without any tweaking?
I met that Robbie guy, bumped into that.
You know, 500 feet, that nursing home, the people who have called, the nursing home seems to present a problem for some based on that measurement of 500 feet. The one that supplied, we did the measurement and we didn't find that it was close enough to indicate.
Right,
it's
but
it's
is
a
there-
unicorn.
So,
There's,
is that
there
it?
are,
Is that it? What about over at Little Willie's?
Well, no, that's on PRV.
All that's PRV, where the, where the, oil change place is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
so the one that's on the table that you guys tabled
Yeah.
is a unicorn site,
So what about the property behind it, Brown's property?
too close to the nursing home.
But then you've got the old, what's the name of that place? The Dollar General store, Fred's store right there.
Fred's.
It's vacant.
That's where I thought they said it was too close to the,
You know, depending on the measurement, yes, it
Depends on where you-
appears to be too close.
It appears to be too close anyway because of the 500-foot rule.
okay, well then we don't have to worry about it. We can just approve the one we got
That's,
and move
yeah.
on.
So until the state adds to the qualified resort area definition that may pick up additional unincorporated county outside of, and they won't have to do that for PRV because they've classified all of PRV as qualified resort. But for anything that's in unincorporated county where they add qualified resort area status to property, we need to have something in place that says this is how we handle package retail operations.
Okay.
So Renee, were y'all going from the front door of the place or the building itself to the nursing home?
We went from the front door out to the street and then to the nursing home.
Okay, property, all right.
Well, to the property line, because that's what it says.
We,
Property line, right.
what we're trying to do is to conduct our measuring the same way that ABC conducts their measuring.
Okay.
we're trying. We think.
So this could be a lot of discussion for nothing then. You could've just told me that to start with.
Well,
Jay, sometimes I'm not exactly sure where we're headed, okay?
And I think it was important though to have PRV here.
Yes.
To kind of explain where they're at, fixing
Yeah.
to, introduce the third one possibly on their agenda on Thursday.
Right.
To show the quantity of it, and then our regulations of what they say, so now PRV understands exactly where the county is on their regs, along with us understanding where they're at, so. that was
Well, like I said, the supply and demand will take care of everything.
One thing that PRV has put on the table as to how they're gonna regulate that is not currently in our profile is this square footage requirement, so I'm really curious about how you guys feel about that.
I like it 2,000 square feet.
Okay, so, and I'm
Couldn't it
thinking.
be as a conditional use? One
Yes,
of the conditions?
yes. So we don't have to introduce it into our zoning.
We
ordinance,
can,
okay?
we can just, we
2,000
can,
square feet over there.
well, we can just bring it up as a conditional use once they apply for it.
Yeah, you can make that one of the conditions that the building would have to
Sure.
meet that.
And what I don't know, as we sit here today, is your current applicant that is
Yeah.
tabled. I don't know what the square footage of that unit is.
I'll check on that.
They may have to secure an additional unit
Right.
in the facility.
2,000 square feet's pretty big footprint.
That's what I would think.
Do y'all know what the Feather Cow, do you know what that square foot is, that building?
It's large.
It's over 4,000 square feet.
Okay, all right.
So if you introduce that as a conditional use, that it must be 2,000 square feet, you're gonna get, again, some limitations. I like it based on Philip's explanation, that it prevents the, quote, pop-up, the little.
We don't have to worry about it now, what you're saying, we don't have but one spot anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be based on that measurement, and we really hadn't measured on the ground out there, but we've measured, on our aerials and things like that, so.
All right.
But we haven't got an application yet either, we've just had
Well,
questions.
I think that was kind of based on a lot of the determination of the buy-sell of the person wanting to buy it. If it.
I'm gonna ask Renee to repeat the adjacent land uses that are gonna prevent consideration. Hear those again right quick. I want her to go through those. And y'all be comfortable that that list is exhaustive enough for you.
So it says it can't be located within 500 feet of the property lines of any existing residential use.
Whoa, stop there. Any residential use within 500 feet. If there is a house trailer within 500 feet, no go. Y'all understand that? R1, R2, R3, R1D, R1B, all of our residential, if it falls under our residential use classification, and I'm not talking
The
about,
property line.
I'm talking about what is zoned, not whether or not it's even used.
No,
Oh,
it's the use.
residential use, I'm sorry,
It's the
you're
use
right.
or how it's zoned. So if it's a residential use or any residentially zoned property
Thank you.
within 500 feet.
Anything, if it's R, if it's got R on it and it's within 500 feet, it ain't happening.
That's
Okay.
to the property line.
Property line, not the
Not the
house
house itself.
trailer, the property line.
Dang.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
Dude,
church,
100 acres.
Church,
school,
school,
hospital, convalescent or nursing home, cemetery, civic organization building or facility, charitable organization building or facility, public or private park or playground, or any property zoned S1 special use district under our ordinance.
Huh. A cemetery.
y'all comfortable with that? Because that's what we're gonna be telling people that inquire. You gotta know what's around it within 500 feet, because it could block any consideration by the board. We're not even gonna consider it.
No, if we ever start doing variances
Right.
there, we'll ever stop.
Next, we're not gonna change the zoning ordinance. We're gonna tell applicants, don't come with a request for the board to authorize package retail in qualified resort area that is C2 or C3, that is not within 500 feet of one of those prohibited uses. So you've cleared all of those hurdles, but your proposal is to put it in a unit that's 1,500 square feet. Not happening. You gotta find 500 more square feet to add to it to get to the 2,000 minimum. We'll tell them that, because that's gonna be a condition to your granting them a conditional use to have a package retail. Everybody good with that? So we'll tell the current applicant, get your tape measure out, and figure out your square footage.
All right, thank you.
I think we've got good direction on that now. So that was just discussion, really. Last thing, and this should only take a minute. Your mosquito control contract comes up at the end of the year. I'll mention this now, your current agreement
Hey, Susan.
with your provider.
See ya.
Hey, I wanted to see, I know, I didn't mean to interrupt you, I
Yes,
saw
sir.
them leaving. Do you mind maybe hanging around just for this recycling discussion in just a second? Because I know it's gonna be a good one, and I need,
It's gonna be
I need, this is far more important than liquor, because this is gonna lead everybody to the liquor store. If we start talking about this recycling. Sorry, but she was leaving, do you mind just for a second?
Your current agreement with your mosquito control operation is for a continuation of the agreement at the same price that you're currently paying. No change. I just need to know if you guys are okay, because they've got a trigger where they have to tell us that they're gonna terminate, and we have a trigger that we have to tell them that we're gonna terminate if there's any intention to terminate. Otherwise, it could just keep right on going at the same price.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Y'all good to let it go?
They also
Good.
saved a lot of money this year, because I've never seen mosquitoes, volume as down as it was this year.
In West Nile, we didn't have, how many cases in West Nile?
I didn't even hear about it
I ain't
because of
never known
COVID, I guess.
There's other things going on, I guess.
Yeah, I never had a call about mosquitoes.
Mr. President, I've got one item in executive session that I need to address with the board.
All right, so move
Thank you,
on,
Craig. Ms. Laura?
your time.
Thank you. The first item that I have today, and next time Keith will be doing this, these were items that I had already been handling before he
Right.
came on board. So, first thing that I have today is authority to renew our law enforcement liability and our public officials liability in the amount of $208,960, and that's with QBE, and authority to issue that check.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by Jay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. The next item is authority to renew our workers' compensation with MPE Workers' Compensation Trust in the amount of $568,598, and this will be paid quarterly, and this one doesn't begin until January.
So moved.
Second.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Next item is authority and approval for the youth court to request, their request to purchase certain items under the CARES Act relief fund from AOC. They're under a deadline. They've been given some additional money, and they have a deadline, and this has to be recorded in the minutes.
Yep, so moved.
All right, motion by Daniel, second by Jay. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed?
And then I have one item to add, please. I need authority for us to pay the poll workers out of sequence. It's not going to be on a docket. Usually they appear on a docket, but we're running into a timeline too for the grants that we've been given. The $50 additional for the hazard pay for the poll workers and the additional manager. And so we're going to try to get those handled this week. They were just turned in to Maria on Friday. So I need authority to get those paid.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion to add this to the agenda by
Yes.
Brad, second by who?
Jay.
Jay. All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? That motion approved.
Motion approved.
By Brad, second by Jay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay.
They'll be very appreciative.
Yes.
They will be.
Just how quick can you get it to them? All right, that's all from Ms. Laura. Additional business to be discussed. Mike Word.
Woo! You got 50 words.
Come on, Ed.
You got the over and under going on. Good morning, gentlemen. December 31, our tri-annual contract with Motorola on our maintenance agreement will be up. So what we're asking for this morning is authority to go ahead and renew that maintenance contract. There has been a couple of changes in it. I do have Motorola here if you've got some specific questions on specifically what's going on with it. They can answer that technically wise. I have given the contract to Mr. Slay, and he's given his blessing on it. He's good with all the verbiage in there as well. Two particular things on there that have changed over the past. Number one, we have spent somewhere in the neighborhood of about $450,000 over the last several years on microwave radios, which is, in my mind, the backbone of our system.
those have never been in the maintenance contract. We have those inside the maintenance contract now. Number two is the GPS tracking for the Sheriff's Department. I believe we've been able to clearly demonstrate that the current provider of GPS tracking does not work in Rankin County. The company just, in my opinion, has no desire to work with us, and it is so inconsistent, and it is truly an officer safety issue. When we get an officer in a foot pursuit or something, they don't even have a way to track him most of the time. You can have guys that are off work at home, and it's showing them at Spillway and 25, and they're at their house in Florence. Just absolutely atrocious system. That's not a Motorola system. That is a third-party contractor.
Didn't we get that from the Department
You-
Wildlife?
No, they built their own stuff.
I thought we were using the same thing they had.
They built their own thing. So what we have done now, I've been in talks with Motorola. This has been a several month-long process. Along with the Sheriff's Department, Mr. McBroom has been in on these meetings to change the GPS component. It's actually going to be a little bit cheaper than what CompassCom was providing, to change the component to a Motorola developed, a Motorola engineered, and a Motorola integrated GPS tracking program for the Motorola system. We've looked at it. He has signed off on it, and all of his people at the Sheriff's Office. They're the only ones that use it. It just happens to come out of the contract money. So I've got Carl here. If you guys got any questions on that component itself, or any of it at all, we'll be more than happy to answer it if we can. Again, this is the same thing as we did last time. This is a 3-year contract, which gets some pretty substantial cuts in our rates, and the total price is about $296 on the annual. So,
All right, you need a motion to approve that, Slay?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Daniel,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
all right, thank you. And that is in the budget too, by the way. It's already in there.
Okay.
Number two, there's money in the budget for this as well. This has been a long process too. We've talked about over the last probably year or so on doing some type of mass messaging platform for Rankin County in lieu of expending additional funds on weather sirens. So we have talked to several companies. We've done lots of demos. Mr. Calhoun's been involved. He's kind of spearheaded this on your guys' end. And the one that we've come up with that provides the best possible product for us in our mind is going to be Civic Ready. Your Deputy Director, Mr. Grantham, I'm going to let him come up and speak to you about the particulars of this, what it's used for, how it can be used, the different department heads that can use it, things of that nature.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I passed out a little booklet like that each one of y'all should have, just kind of some quick thoughts about the system.
Oh, with these pens that don't work, you mean?
Oh, do they not work? I'll be sure to let them know.
They didn't put ink in them.
I'll be sure to let them know.
Nah, you figure out how to open it.
We currently have a system in place called HyperReach.
Jay,
You guys,
push this right
you
here.
guys pay approximately $4,000 a year for this. We use it a little bit with our Mid-Mississippi Strike Team. The Sheriff's Department uses it quite a bit with the SRT and some other small groups like that. However, with this new system, let me backtrack a little bit. With the HyperReach, the individual user has to sign up, be added to the system to receive the one-way message. With the Civic Ready that you have in front of you, this will be available to the citizens of Rankin County. They can sign up for whatever notifications they want. If they want weather notifications, they sign up for that. If they want, if y'all choose to do the waste management pickup, if there's an issue with waste management on a certain street and they sign up for those notifications, then you will be allowed to send out that notification to them saying waste management is not picking up today, they'll be there tomorrow.
So is this the same concept? It has to be user generated?
So there's actually multiple options. Let's just take you, for example. If you want to get X, Y, and Z messages from the county, you'll check mark those boxes. You'll get a text message when it comes out. You get tired of getting a text message, you reply stop, and you're done. However, one thing that makes Civic Ready unique that we're really excited about is the automatic weather notifications. So it's called IPAWS, Integrated Public Access Warning System. And basically when the Weather Service puts out a tornado warning,
for a geographical area, like they do now, they don't do the whole county anymore, they do certain sections, then everybody in that area will get a notification automatically, whether they're signed up or not. Currently, cell phones have this ability a lot of times with the automated alerts. This will piggyback off that. We currently do not participate in the iPause system because we've never had any type of program that would help us with that. So, a couple of more benefits to the Civic Ready is we obviously we would be the master account. Underneath us, we have sub-accounts, such as, like I mentioned before, the sheriff's department will be able to break it down as much as they want to. It's unlimited messaging. So if they wanted a group for their investigators, a group for the reserves, a group for the jailers, whatever, they can create those groups. They would be in charge of it. They would approve who got on it and who what. The public can't sign up for these groups. They can't even see these groups when they go online. So multiple departments will be able to use it.
And it works with all phones.
Yes, we've tested this out with iPhones, Androids, anything that you can get a text message from, you can get it. So even
What
a
about,
flip phone.
I mean, so, but the same thing would be a problem with dead spots that we have.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere that
yeah,
your cell phone doesn't receive. Now, I will say this, in times of disaster, we've noted, like down Katrina, the cell phones quit working, you couldn't call each other.
Right.
However, a text message was more likely to get through, and that's what this system utilizes is the text messaging.
So the cellular companies currently, that message they send out that you can't control, it's gonna be on top of that?
It'll be in addition to that, yes. And you can control that in your settings. You can turn off your Amber Alerts and your weather.
Not for Android.
Oh, okay.
Gonna move you back to the light. Back over here.
All right, so is this gonna be the same way? Though people could choose
Opt
the
out.
same option?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
They can opt out at any time.
Did you mention the Ike Reach?
Yeah.
Is the 14.8 purchased one time?
That's
That's what I was.
So that'll be for the first year. The second year, you see it drops down to about $13,700, so about $1,100 savings because you don't have that implementation fee.
Right.
We don't see that.
My thing is all these rural warning sirens that we having to maintain those, and pretty much everybody's got an iPhone now, and except for Jay.
There's
And,
plenty of people who still use Android, guys. Come
But
on.
all the cities, they maintain their own warning sirens, but in the rural part of the county, I mean, it don't
They usually can't
benefit
hear
a
'em.
handful.
Usually don't hear them unless they're right up on.
Right, so some of the limitations to those that
Right.
we've discussed it before is about 1.5 mile radius.
That's right.
In
I've
per-
got
You gotta
six
be
flashing.
outside.
In
I've got
perfect
6
weather.
flashing right now.
And
They
I
need to
mean,
make a phone call for repair.
and I mean, we just steadily pumping money each month or
It's worth trying anyway
give it
because
a shot.
the main thing is they don't even hear it. At least you
Start
you
weeding
got
some
your
of the
phone laying
rural
over
ones
by the
out.
bed, you hear the thing go off. Lord, when that Amber Alert starts, I have to.
Absolutely. And one more thing I wanted to mention with this makes it unique, is let's say that the sheriff's department has a standoff in a certain area or an active shooter. We'll be able to go online to the Google Maps and we'll be able to draw out a circle, a square, a polygon, whatever we need to.
Active shooter.
And it'll alert the
Right.
people in that area that there's an active shooter, stay indoors.
About traffic congestion. We'll
Yes.
do that.
Yeah.
Will it be better as far as the, right now we get this national weather thing. But it may be the one up at the reservoir, and they're telling me way down far south,
Yeah,
and so you get to the point where you're like, you really don't take it serious because you don't know where it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna go polygon. Wherever
Yeah.
the polygon is
Yeah.
where the actual.
Yeah, I could see that being, yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work. As opposed to the entire county. You got one in Pisgah, and it's bringing you all the way in the southwest corner, and it's the system's actually in the northeast.
Yeah, and it's heading east. Yeah.
40 miles away from
Yeah.
this growth
Right.
lines.
All right.
I don't know, I don't know any more than what y'all are telling me, but it sounds like a good idea. Something good to try anyway, 'cause like I said, we're putting that much money in repairs.
Okay, I make motion approved.
Second.
All right, motion by Jay to approve, second by Brad. Any discussion, more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Good, thank you.
I think that's the best money we spent today.
Mr. President, if it's your pleasure, I've got one item I'd like to add for discussion. Just for a second, it'd save you about $70,000 if you want to do it.
I don't wanna do it.
All right. Well, you ain't the president, so.
I know.
That'll go a long way on that culvert I got. Let's go.
Okay. Fire truck acquisitions, the vendor we've been using to get our fire trucks from has now got a new program called post-delivery. Basically what this is, and I've given this paperwork to your attorney, Mr. Slay, as well. He's checked off on this. What we can do is we can sign, and we got to do this by December the 1st. We can go ahead and sign up for next year, post-October 2021, that allotment of fire apparatus, and we're able to lock down the 2020 price, which is going to save anywhere between about $40,000 and $70,000, depending on the price increase that is coming the first week of January. They cannot tell us for sure exactly how much prices are going to go up. I would make the assumption if it's like anything else, it's going to go through the roof. But what we're able to do is lock in those prices, or 2020 prices, not take delivery until we were going to take delivery of them anyway. They won't be paid for until after October 2021, being actually the next year's budget. And I've spoken with Mr. Craig on this, and he can give you some particulars as far as what the agreement is and how that works.
Okay.
Do we buy one every year?
Just bought three.
More than
There's
one.
3 on the list for next year.
Every year, though?
Yes, sir.
All right, you need a motion to do that, or what? I'll make a motion to add it to the agenda.
Motion by Daniel, add to the agenda.
Second.
Second by Brad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
You're authorizing the issuance of purchase order for the units that Mike described immediately, but the delivery of those units will be in the 2021 cycle.
Okay. Have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by, sound like 3 of you.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion by Steve, second by Brad. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Ed.
It's good, you know?
Yeah, Ed is really good.
All right,
Mr. Holloway.
David Holloway. He's hiding over in the corner.
Morning.
Good morning, board. Good morning, everyone. How are y'all?
Been
Good.
fine, David.
All right. So we're here to discuss recycling.
Yeah, I'm gonna preface it and start by, the discussion came up, I guess maybe a month or so ago, and the item of the recycling bin at the reservoir came up. So last board meeting, we had a discussion, and numerous of my colleagues up here felt like the best thing to do was shut the recycling bin down at the reservoir, move it to Marquette, which I'm 100,000% against. That recycling bin at the
I
reservoir.
think you're 100,000 plus one.
Plus one, that's right. So it's a vital thing for the reservoir. You know the numbers of how often that thing is used and how much it's used. What we did about 3 years ago is we changed that normal recycling bin to the compactor. That they can go in, push the button, and actually compact it.
That nobody can operate.
Yeah, rarely it gets used properly, right? So people come in and have trouble maybe not reading the sign that's there and end up having to call the fireman to go over there, which they're going to do because they're good public servants, right? So regardless, I don't want the recycling bin, this is Daniel's take, the others have to speak as well, but I don't want the compactor or the recycling bin moved from the fire station at the reservoir to Marquette, where everybody has to take the recycling stuff to the county to dump. It's a huge, huge benefit for those people at the reservoir. If anything, we'd want to add more recycling bins to the reservoir to encourage people to do the recycling side of it. I never really had a true passion on the recycling side until I got elected in this and saw all the benefits and the needs of the reservoir community in putting this recycling bin there and making it user-friendly. We've got the compactor there that's on Spillway. We've got an additional recycling spot on the North Shore Fire Station on the North Shore. So we've got 2 of those areas. The people out there are really bought into the concept and the process of going through the recycling mode, and it's critical to those people that live out there to have a good location for them to use that. Do we need to maybe tweak the area a little bit right there at Spillway Road to maybe increase the education side of how to use the compactor? Maybe so. But Daniel's take is I do not wish to have that compactor moved from the reservoir area that will make those people drive to the Marquette Road to recycle. So having said that, that's kind of why I think we got you here today. The discussion was last meeting was they wanted to move it. I'm against it. what I'd like for you to do is talk about the numbers that's used right there on Spillway Road on the compactor
Or
compared
other
around.
options.
Yeah. Or we could
Other
talk about,
options,
hey, I'm all for
dollar
curbside.
figures.
Yeah, if we want to go down the mindset of curbside pickup, you got me for that one. I'm here for that,
Yeah,
all the
I
way
mean,
around.
the curbside,
But talk to me about how much the recycling is used at that Spillway location.
Oh, it's used considerably. I think we pick it up 3 times a week. So it's being used a lot. That's most definite.
So compared to other recycling bins across the region, how does that one rank up?
It's in the top, but this area is heavily recycled area. I mean, Madison's got it, Ridgeland's huge
What's
recycling.
What's Madison the county do?
Madison County has 1 bin, and that's it. They put out 1 bin.
They got one location?
One location.
But do they do
Everybody comes there.
curbside? Any
They-
curbside in Madison County?
They did have curbside
Did.
at one time. They did. And they were doing only
Like
a
they
certain
do not
part,
now.
part of the county. And it came up an issue that, hey, we're not getting it in the northern part of the county. And so it was the county decision. They said, we're gonna stop recycling altogether.
What about in the cities? Do the cities have curbside recycling?
Oh, yeah. That's what I said.
So Ridgeland, Madison, cities.
Ridgeland, Madison, the cities. Clinton has it. So.
They all do curbside recycling.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Curbside recycling. And if you were to do that, you'd have to put it out for RFP, request for proposal.
Yeah.
How much waste you get out of it? I mean, what's it waste?
It's,
And it's right, when you throw something else in there, then that kind of goes out.
Contamination.
They throw a Tonka toy or something in the,
They throw
tractor.
one glass bottle in it. It can
Yeah.
contaminate the whole load.
it runs.
but it still costs us the same.
Yeah, it still costs.
What-
What we do is we pick this recycling up, bring it to our transfer station. We have a dedicated MRF for it only. And they bring it, they put it on the floor there. At one time, we were taking it to Summerall, Mississippi, and they couldn't make it down there, so they had to stop accepting it. Now we ship it to Little Rock, Arkansas.
So
Wow.
there's no way to track anything then?
Oh, you mean contamination rate?
Right.
I talked to them, and right now, the Jackson site, not, picking y'all out or anything, but it's between 22 to 25% weekly contamination is being thrown away.
One of the things the reservoir does to try to educate the people is we've got an organization out there. I said they have an organization out there called Keep Reservoir Beautiful that
Right.
Janine May heads up. That goes into the schools. They educate the high schools around, the elementary schools. They do recycling programs. They do days at the reservoir where they're down there picking up trash, and they have signs posted. They do constant things in the reservoir, Ridgeland, and the city of Madison areas that really promote the education side of the recycling end of it. It's a very passionate group, a very well ran organization. We do things with Janine May. She's big on, you've seen her come in here and talk about different areas on the stormwater and stuff
They're
like
actually
that.
helping us with the,
Tremendous amount. Paying for some of that. Absolutely they are.
Let me ask you this, let's see some dollar figures. What's this cost us? Laura, do you have that? Or anybody?
We did have it.
We did. I mean, I had some ahead, but I didn't have all 3. I think that one cost us about $78,000. That one.
A year or just year to date?
Huh?
Year to date or?
Yeah,
or
year to date be good too.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, just give me some
No,
numbers then.
are you saying 78,000 a year or a year to date?
A year.
Whatever you know.
He's not sure. He's asking you to, do you
No,
know the
I'm kind
price?
of going by the numbers I'd heard.
Here are the numbers that I
Oh.
gave you the other day.
Okay. You want?
so, but no, Dave, there's no way of knowing that particular dumpster probably gets put in.
Yeah,
with
because it gets
everything
put in
else.
there, we
See.
bring it to the transfer station, we put it on the floor, we push it off in the truck.
Yeah.
We do zero sorting there.
I got you.
It was about
Okay, just,
$1,000.
is this just this one, or is this all of them together? Janice, you have any idea?
Hey, man, let me call you back.
Say that again, Jerry.
You got, $312 per haul, $350 per month rental, $175. Is that just one, or is that all of them?
No, the, North Shore is 234.69.
Look on the second sheet.
Oh, okay, my bad, I'm looking at that first one.
Rental,
The North Shore is $234.69 on the haul rate, rentals $173, and it's $175 a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And that's monthly. Or no, that's 3 times a week.
That's how often?
The ton rate's the same on
It's,
compact.
yeah, it could be, yeah, 3 times.
But you
a
pick it
week.
up 3
3
times a week?
times a week.
Yeah, that's what we increased it to, because,
Yeah.
have we not, oh, well, that's
think
right, we were
just
talking
doing it-
about
we-
that.
We were having a
We
discussion.
haven't, it's just 2 right
We
now.
were just having a discussion of 3 times a week.
'cause
It's
it
still
was-
2 times a week that's picked up.
I guess what I'm looking at, Daniel, I'm not against recycling whatsoever. But it's that here we're looking at, replacing bridges and culverts and all this, and you start adding all this together. I mean, 1 year of this would replace the one we just, done what you talking about,
Hey,
Dad?
then you're gonna get a chance in just a second
So-
to vote to remove it from the reservoir, if that's what you
I'm
want to do.
I'm just saying, that, I mean, I'm not against recycling whatsoever. I get called all the time, but then they find out, oh, we don't have one here. So I think a
Do you wanna-
central
do you wanna
location
add
is a
one
great
for-
place.
Do you wanna add one, a recycling bin in your area? You don't?
We've tried that.
Huh?
We've tried that. But,
And I mean, I got people out in the Johns and Puckett would love to recycle, and they bring it to Marquette. And that's the only option they got.
it's not much, it's not quite.
But I mean, the community down there is not big enough to justify. It's not like y'all.
It's just the money, one thing, the money involved is, and all the taxpayers over the whole county are paying for this. Would they like to pay for that one?
That's the reason the curbside is something I like. If a subdivision wants to opt in to do a recycling deal, hey, add
How do you do that, David? Do they have to vote on it or agree
Yeah,
to it?
we did this, in the past, met with HOAs, and the subdivision, what they asked them, okay, if you want curbside recycling,
Mhm.
that's fine, but you're gonna have 100%, everybody's gonna have to pay.
Yeah.
You know, so it's 100% participation on payment.
Yeah, I can see that, because you
And-
can't know
when-
which house,
yeah.
yeah.
Everybody take their garbage to one place, one driveway, and,
Yeah.
you know, if you-
Well, we don't do that
One
one.
guy. It's recycling.
100%, that one guy's 100%.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it has to, but,
I can make this short. I make a motion, we stay right where we're at and try to do a better job of schooling our people on how to use the part that they don't get
compact,
right.
yeah.
Compact.
It's usually they don't know how to operate the key
Right.
and, you
Well,
know.
what you gonna do about everybody
I
else,
second.
Steve? The whole, overall county's paying for that,
Yeah, I mean,
every taxpayer.
I don't think that Brian, you know, well, most of my population is Brandon, and we got here, people at Leesburg or, that area.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough people
I
to
got you.
justify having it.
Yeah, second.
I mean, another.
Yeah,
So your motion, leave everything as is currently? Yes.
I'd rather, I'd just send that motion, to make a motion to move it to, a
Well,
one
you-
county site.
Well, the thing is, you got a motion and a second, so we've gotta take a vote and then you make another motion. So,
Okay, I got a motion by Steve, second by Daniel. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Well, there we go.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. David.
Thank
Appreciate
y'all. And I'm gonna give these to Miss Laura. She can go over them. It's your yearly CPI, which is very light this year. The Consumer Price Index increase. All right, so we're leaving it there, right?
Yep,
Okay.
current level.
Thank you.
Current levels. Or do y'all want to, should we talk about the increase now, or? I know
Increase in
it was
what?
needed.
Compacting?
Huh?
Recycling?
Yeah,
Wait, a what? Increase on what?
the increase on service.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Cause
recycling.
they'd been brought up.
Oh,
They'd
I
asked
thought you were
me.
talking about recycling.
Well, it's all in the mix. Their entire service is going up.
Oh.
We
Well,
should
I
make sure
understand
we're
the
waiting on
garbage
voting.
pickup, didn't know that had anything to do with recycling.
No, we're staying as is currently.
Okay, staying as it is. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dave.
Thanks.
He was talking about the extra pickup, like,
Yeah.
We
I
need
need
to.
Okay.
to rush that along, guys, but I've got to go to the restroom.
I make a motion discuss need to go into executive session.
Motion.
Motion made by Jay,
Second.
need to go into executive session, second by Steve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey,
Potential property acquisition.
So look, the stores out there are not 2,000, they're 1,600.
Just about.
So we probably need to do it at 1,500.
That's fine.
I'll tell him. No.
Tommy King. Yeah, meet with Tommy King.
Now we need the motion.
This is about.
You know, Brandon bypass, you can come off Louisville. So what?
Jared, we need a motion
Of
to
course,
go into.
they've been to see Brandon, because all this.
Y'all need a motion to consider.
Yeah.
We're about to make the motion.
They go
We
tell
already
them,
did.
they gotta get that damn recycle.
Made the motion to discuss it.
The need.
Now you wish we wouldn't have brought it up, don't you?
Hey, we made a motion for the need. Now I guess we need a motion to
Yeah,
go into
so
executive session. I thought we
this,
did that.
Personnel
All right.
and property acquisition.
All right, I make a motion to go into executive session, personnel, and
All
property
right.
acquisition.
Motion by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
You good, man?
All opposed.
Court return.